Hey, gamers, and welcome in to another stream. A weird one. A weird stream, for sure, but another stream. It's Saturday. Also, hi Fungi, welcome in. I can't believe Twitch gave you a shitload of ads on the way in. That's the whole point of having the ad rate up, is that it doesn't... It's not supposed to show you, like, a shitload of ads on the way in. But regardless, welcome in, everybody. You may notice it's Saturday, which is not normally a stream day for me. Actually, it's Sunday. Where in the world is it Sunday? Under what circumstances? Twitch just doesn't like fungi? Yeah, that's probably true. Australian? Yeah. Fair enough. But, you know, it's a Saturday, which isn't usually a stream day for me. Well, I guess it is for Australians, but in that case, it's a Sunday, which also isn't a normal stream day. And that's because... no more schedule. There's no more stream schedule. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why before we play the game. Alright, let me run you through something. Let me run you through something real quick. Oh, Basil's catching heat. But while they catch heat, I just want to say that, I got a lot of shit coming up in December. I'll level with you. I'm going to be really, really, really busy. And this might sound like I'm ramping down streams. No, I've always wanted to go without a schedule and kind of just be my own streamer and sort of like, screw the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll just like do 3 streams a week when I feel up to it, you know, or maybe more, or maybe one less, you know, and just stream when it's convenient for me and when I'm having a good time. Just to keep the burnout at bay. :3 actually works. Clown rat? Damn, clown rat immediately, huh? Well, I'm talking about potential burnout and how I might maybe, like, end up ruining my entire schedule here. Which I have. I've thrown the schedule out the window. You can check my Twitter. And maybe I'll put something out about it on Blue Sky as well later tonight. And maybe a Discord announcement too. But... Burnout? Clown. None. Only Clown Rat. Yeah. But... Half-Life 2, I'm really stoked, because I'm a big Valve guy. And Half-Life 2 just got its 20th anniversary update. Which includes workshop support. I got no clue what the workshop for this game looks like. Maybe we'll check that out. But I've already played Half-Life 2 on the channel before. Like, we already did a whole playthrough of it that's up on the VODs channel and viewable. So today, we're doing something a little special, and we're doing Half-Life 2 with the new developer commentary that they just added. 20 years out, they've added retrospective developer commentary, and I'm really excited about it. Because developer commentary is something I really, really dig. Especially in these games. Let's get the music out of here, because that's not the game producing that music. That's a tab in the background. There we go. Perfect. Alright. So, let's play some Half-Life 2. I hope we're all doing well today, by the way. I hope we're all doing well. But my point being, just expect more irregular streams. Let me turn developer commentary on, and we'll hit start new game. Commentary mode is currently on. Commentary nodes contain audio commentary by the Valve development team. To start and stop a node at any time, press the balloon icon, or walk up to the balloon icon and press your use key. You'll be invulnerable to damage while listening to a node. Achievements cannot be earned in commentary mode. That's fair enough, But maybe we'll get some cool developer insight. Let's watch the opening of Half-Life 2 that everyone's seen a million times. God, I love this game. I do really like this game.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on
my partner just on developer commentary. Not a fan of developer commentary?
And all the effort in
not a
the
big
world
developer
would
commentary
have gone
fan?
to waste until...
That's a shame.
Well, let's just say your hour has come again.
Come again? Don't mind if I do.
The right
I'm allowed to get away with
man,
shitty
the
jokes like
wrong
that.
place
Clown right
can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman.
Hey, yo.
Wake up and smell the ashes.
All right. But yeah, I went ahead and cranked up the graphics as high as they can go. Just very well. The game's not too loud, is it? Let me know, chat. It might even be a little quiet. They don't want people yapping in their ear while they game. That's fair, yeah. No, yeah, I love this game without the developer commentary. I've played it a million times, and so I'm just trying to experience a bunch of the new content that's available. Probably not gonna beat the game today. Just gonna spend a few hours chilling and playing some gaming. Or playing some Half-Life 2. Oh my god, at the amount of developer commentary nodes.
Welcome to City 17.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, let's start.
I'm Gabe Newell, and welcome back to Half-Life 2. It's been a long 20 years since its release.
Oh.
In this anniversary update, we
released.
tried to respond to as many of the community's
Good old
requests
source
as
stuff.
possible. And while this might not be the absolute #1 request from fans, I often hear how much people would like a commentary mode, so we're excited to finally make that happen.
Guess they'd be
Not only
fucking
was it a
around way too
challenge
much.
to remember many of the details of Half-Life 2's development, but it's not easy
you
to
can
crack
sit down.
open decades-old computer code
How long have
and
you been
wonder
able to
what
just
the
sit
hell you
down
were
here?
thinking way back then. Along with the dev commentary, we've cleaned up a bunch of old bugs and tried to leave things in better shape than we found them. And at least this time, we had the luxury of knowing how things turned out in the end. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair
I've never played
over the
this and don't know
rotating
what it's
node
about.
and
Oh,
press the
Half-Life
use
2
key
is
again.
great.
And
Half-Life
please,
2 is
let me know what you
fantastic.
think. You can reach me at gaben@valvesoftware.com. Thanks, and have fun.
It's obviously it's a sequel
Welcome to City
to Half-Life, hence the name. Yeah, you could sit down. I never knew. I guess I've just never tried. And I would love to give a plot synopsis. A lot of things might seem sort of weird at first if you're not familiar with Half-Life.
My
But
administration here in the Citadel so thoughtfully
ooh, sorry, I just realized it only spins when I'm looking at it. But this game tells its own story so wonderfully, and things might seem kind of odd at first, but you get used to it. You get used to it. It's free right now. If you've never played this game and you need an excuse to, it just got a major like content and like overhaul update, and it's free right now. And it's free for a few days. I think until the 19th. So, like, now is absolutely the time. Anyway, developer commentary.
Physics objects. It might be hard to remember it now, but back when Half-Life 2
Train
came
door.
out, small objects and
Ow!
games like these bits of trash were
so
usually
bright.
static, as in they didn't really move, or if they did, it was in a very simple way. If you were lucky, they might break apart into some sprites if you hit them.
Ooh, ayo.
One of the goals for this initial train station section
Another one?
was to really make it clear to players that these kinds of things were properly, physically, actually being simulated.
Oh, not quite, not
They can be
quite.
picked up,
Got it over the
dropped,
fence, though.
thrown, broken, moved by other forces, you name it. Here we're starting with just a small thing,
Wow.
showing that trash is being blown by the arrival of the train, or, more specifically, an invisible volume that's triggered by the player leaving the train.
Our benefactors. I've been proud to call City 17.
Train station. The beginning of a Half-Life game has a big job to do. We have to introduce players to a new world while teaching them how to interact with it.
Oh, look at that.
Players need to quickly
Busted
grasp
clock,
what's happening,
busted time
who the key
clock.
players are, what threats they face, and how they fit into it all. Above all else, it has to be as fun and interactive as possible.
Empty
Nailing
Chinese takeout
this
box.
takes a lot of iteration and playtesting, especially on the small moments that make up a bigger picture of the
Oh,
game.
hell overshot.
In this section, we'll highlight some key moments, game design problems, and a few playtests where things didn't quite go as planned.
I love hearing about this kind of thing. Now, keep an eye on this guy near the suitcases up here. I love this bit.
But this stuff, it's all I have left.
Welcome to City
Check
17.
that out.
Moving, jeez.
You have
God.
chosen or
Metro Cop shoving citizens.
one of our finest
We've only walked a few feet and we're already got problems to solve. We're introducing the Metro Cop, an enemy that eventually we're going to ask players to kill, and giving you a glimpse of the world they're stepping into. It's a simple, clear moment that shows the relationships between the Metro Cops and
Invisible wall?
citizens, and by extension, the player.
Oh, there might be.
At the same time, we decided to reinforce the existence of the core physics simulation, showing the way in which NPCs can casually interact with objects in the world. Seeing something like a suitcase knock into another and dislodge was pretty novel back then. These moments at the train station, where we combined multiple goals, were the most successful.
Didn't quite
They
hit 'em.
felt natural, like the game wasn't pausing just to teach you a lesson.
Damn it. Okay. Well, we've got another commentary note over here. I
Sweeping
would have missed
Vorticon.
this too.
Another key moment of storytelling, and another nod to the physics system. Here, we're showing how Vortigons fit into this new world,
Wow.
which is a big shift from their Half-Life 1
Can I pick it
role
back
as
up?
enemies.
Nah, not
Like
through there.
so many moments in
Damn.
the train station, the Sweeping Vortigon came from our constant hunt for ways to show characters interacting naturally with the physics system. Why just tell players Vortigons are friendly now, when you can show one casually sweeping the floor and knocking around some simulated objects?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Nothing signals, hey, don't shoot me this time around, like someone willing to tidy up.
A fair
I've
point.
been proud to call City 17 my
Let's stand a little
home.
further back.
And so,
That was close. That's as close as I'm gonna get. That's as close as I'm gonna get to hitting that guy.
Were you the only ones on that
to
train?
City 17.
Oh,
It's safer here.
oh.
Citizens. When it came time to design the human citizens of City
we're talking
17 and
about
the world outside the
The
city,
people.
we chose to include a variety of races, ages, and genders. This not only provided narrative context for the Combine's enslavement of all of humanity,
What are those?
but it was also important to us that anyone playing the game could see themselves represented in the Resistance, with everyone on Earth united against the Combine.
Soda?
While we found a number of candidates to use as reference in
That's like
creating
canned
these
water.
citizens
It's
through our daily
Breen's private
lives and
reserve.
connections,
I can't drink
we
it.
ultimately resorted to
make another
advertising
one now.
in the Seattle Times classifieds to reach the desired range of faces that we'd envisioned.
Using a classified ad to find face models.
Elected to
Everything in
establish
it. Oh, there's a
my
cannon.
administration here.
That's enough of
in
that.
Citadel so
Let's
thoughtfully
throw this at that Metro cop.
provided by our
They deserve it.
I've been
Where is he?
proud
Where is he?
to
Where is he?
call City 17
Yar,
my
copper.
home.
Oh fuck.
So,
Oh fuck.
whether you
Oh
are
fuck.
here to
Yeah, let's
stay
see. Figure
or
this one out.
Passing through
Huh?
on your way to Parkside
Yeah, no, that's what I thought, pal. Haha.
to City 17.
Throw another can at him.
It's safer here.
Can I? Uh-huh. Where'd he go? Oh, he went back to his post. Now I'll throw it at the next guy, I see. Aw, damn, I was hoping you'd be a Metro Cop.
No more.
No more! I swear there was
Dr.
a...
Breen again?
Oh, there's
Based on
cops
what
around
we've
the
seen
corner
last of
here.
him in City 14. I wouldn't say that too loud. This is his base of operations.
Natural
let's hear it.
storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
To achieve our world building and storytelling goals throughout the train station, we needed a natural way to
Look at
deliver
this guy.
dialogue without it feeling too gamey or requiring tutorials. We noticed players often approached NPCs to get a closer look, so we turned that into an opportunity for the NPCs to acknowledge the player and deliver their lines. This kept interactions low-key, which was essential since the citizens aren't exactly too cheerful or lively. The simplicity of this approach also
Jesus
aligned
Christ,
with one
he's
of Half-Life's
strong.
core storytelling goals, making the narrative responsive to the player's interest. Some players want to
Oh.
dig into every detail, while others just want to
Toss
know
it up
what
and
to
catch
do
it.
next.
I got it,
Giving
I got it, I
players
got it.
control over how much story they
Oh, I
want
didn't
to
quite get
engage
it.
with, without it blocking progress, is a goal we always try to maintain in a Half-Life game. Plus, the less complicated a feature is to implement, the more of
something
it we
heavier?
can
Nah.
include.
That wouldn't even be heavier, that'd be lighter. Catch air a little better. Can I turn on subtitles? Is that an option? Sorry, I'm getting really engrossed in these subtitles, captioning, subtitles, dialogue only. Thank you. Hopefully these work for dev commentary as well. Ooh, look at how crisp those subtitles look.
Welcome to City 17.
Where are you taking me?
You have chosen
Early tech planning. Shipping a game always teaches us a lot. We finally get to find out which choices we made were good ones, and which were ones we should do differently next time. So after Half-Life 1, when we sat down to start thinking about what kind of
Look at
sequel
those
we could
character
build,
animations, I
we had
love
all
them.
kinds of player feedback to digest. From it, we tried to build a master list of things that Half-Life 2 was going to focus on. We didn't try to design a specific player experience. Instead, we found it more useful to approach the question from a technological standpoint. Black Mesa's security guards and scientists had worked well. What could we do if we pushed it really, really hard on characters? We liked our interactive storytelling. What could we build that would allow us to do even more of it, and a greater variety? The exploration and interaction with the Black Mesa was compelling to players. Maybe a physics system would allow us to take that further. In all
I don't
these
know if
areas,
progress
we
right
tried
now,
to
'cause there's more
imagine the
commentary
best
notes.
version of it could look like years in the future, and back solve from that a set of technological steps that might get us there.
Welcome.
Yeah, this whole thing might seem like a big circle jerk if you're unfamiliar with Half-Life and unfamiliar with when this game came out. This is a game from 2004, and so like a lot of this stuff is very impressive, and a lot of this was very pioneering for its time. And I feel like it's important to say that before we get too deep into these developer commentary notes, where they're saying things that seem very obvious, like we wanted characters to be fun to interact with and compelling. You know, because most of the time in video games, in the era, it was very much like characters are either dialogue NPCs that stand still and talk to you, or enemies that shoot at you and don't say anything.
Storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a sense of immersion was a core principle in our approach to Half-Life 1's storytelling, and it led us to the self-imposed constraints of never, or at least rarely, taking control away from the player and of keeping the player's avatar silent. These limitations made storytelling more challenging at times, but we felt it was important to stay with them for Half-Life 2. Our hope was that by maintaining these principles, we'd push ourselves to explore deeper, more
he's really
interactive
after me this time. Ouch! I can't run. I can't sprint. Okay, alright. Fine, dude. Bruce, for now.
Elected to establish my administration here in the city.
Stuff back there. Ow, dude. Fuck.
Our benefactor.
Ouch. No, I'm stuck. No, I'm trapped.
And so,
Wah. Okay. Oh man, dude, playing this game currently is a lot of fun.
This must be a mistake. I got a standard relocation coupon just like everybody else.
Oh no. Okay.
Characters. In Half-Life 1, security guards and scientists could best be described as archetypes, not individuals. They were abstractions of characters that matched the visual fidelity.
If I go through, they're going to continue the dialogue.
But as our technology improved with Half-Life 2, we saw an opportunity to move beyond abstractions. The increased visual fidelity of the character models, combined with improvements in animation, made us believe we could focus on creating individual characters, people you would actually care about. We allowed ourselves to write real dialogue and have characters deliver it in a way that felt realistic enough for players to not think about them as pawns in a video game, and hopefully propel our narrative forward. In 2001, a couple of years into development, we were energized by Japan Studios' Eco. Directed by an animator, it blew us away with its reliance on characters as the key connection to the player, giving us the courage to keep pushing forward.
That's cool. The audio quality on some of these is not great, some of these commentary nodes. Alright, we get an uninterrupted dialogue scene from the actual game now. Ah. Sorry.
I'm gonna need me some privacy for this.
Go ahead. Go.
About that beer I owed you.
Holy shit,
It's
Barney
me,
from
Gordon.
Black Mesa?
Barney from Black Mesa. Hey, sorry for the scare. I had to put on a show for the cameras. I've
Funny
been working
Barney
undercover
Calhoun is
with civil
here?
Protection. I can't take too long
Wow.
or they'll get suspicious. I'm way behind on my beating quota.
Yes, Barney.
Things are not stable here. Boink!
Sorry, Doc, but
didn't move.
look who's here.
Bet if I...
Great Scott! Gordon Freeman!
That's me.
Yeah,
Oh!
you and me both, Doc. He was about to board the
gone
Express
flying.
to Nova Prospect.
Well, Barney, what do you intend?
I'm thinking.
I'm stinking.
Somewhere. She would have a better idea how to get him here.
This book say
As
on
long as he stays away from checkpoints, we should be okay. Listen, I gotta go, Doc. We're taking enough chances as it is.
So it says something 24, 1-5. I think it's
Okay,
5-24.
You're gonna have to make your own way to
The rest of the
Dr.
text
Kleiner's
is not
lab.
legible.
Oh, man, that's what I was afraid of.
Like turning my head.
Before you blow my cover.
Or you blow them up.
Blocking tutorials. At times, we need to be certain the player has learned something, and the standard method, at least in game development, not in life, is to trap them behind a gate of
Not in
punishment,
life.
where the player must demonstrate their knowledge to
Please
be able
don't
to complete.
actually trap people in a
We
room
try
until
to
they learn
disguise these
things.
gates as something
Good
natural,
point.
so it doesn't feel like the game has come to a halt. Of course, Time, resources, or the environmental context itself can make that tricky. In this case, we needed to teach the players how to move objects, so a simple stacking puzzle seemed like the best solution. We tested more complex designs, but they ended up being less effective at teaching the actual thing we needed the player to learn.
At the top of the stairs is a commentary node that is very fun. Ooh, I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. What does this one say?
Blocking tutorials.
Welcome in, by the way.
There are 2 failures of note in this tutorial.
Part 2? About block
First,
tutorial?
Players can break it by tossing all the boxes out the window, which is obviously not great. This leaves
Everybody's
them
done
stuck
that
and
at some
unable
point,
to
I'm sure.
continue, which we consider a game-stopping bug that must be fixed. A clean solution would have been to tweak the window or crate sizes so that the player could fit through, but not the crates. The problem was that we really only caught this problem late in development. Making even a simple change like that can have unpredictable game-breaking consequences, and right before launch, no less. Also, this blocking tutorials too. There are 2 failures of note in this tutorial.
Getting a little too close to it with these suitcase
players can break
stackings.
it by tossing all the boxes out the window, which is
I
obviously
restarted
not
the
great.
node.
This leaves them stuck and unable to continue, which we consider a game-stopping bug that must be fixed. A clean solution would have been to tweak the window or crate sizes so that the player could fit through, but not the crates. The problem was that we really only
Asking
caught
you to
this
throw
problem
things
late
through
in
the
development.
window? I meant
Making
this
even
one?
a
You meant
simple
this one?
change like that can have
Or do you mean that one over
unpredictable
there?
game-breaking consequences. And right
There's one up
before
the
launch, no
ladder
less.
as well.
Also, this issue was purely theoretical. We'd never actually seen players do it. Our playtests of the design space had gone
I love
smoothly,
theoretical
with players
issues
learning
in
what they
game
needed
design.
and moving on. So changing the room's design this late in the game could have disrupted that success in ways that we couldn't foresee. So we opted for a more
Oh
conservative
man, I really
fix
messed
rather
up
than
my little
something
tower
elegant.
here, huh?
If you're curious, try tossing all the boxes out the window and see what happens.
Oh, you're inviting me to toss all the boxes out the window, are you? Oh boy, I can't wait. I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we'll listen to the next node. Just first of all, why isn't the solution to this just make a window the boxes don't fit through? I mean, the player could still break them, I guess. Let's see it. Let's see it. It's fun. Easter egg. Yeah, I'm happy to figure this out. Oop. 2 more boxes to go. 2 more boxes to go. 2 more okay, I'm beginning to see. I'm beginning to get it now. So what if I keep that spot in shot the whole... Yeah, it just moves it back over here. Okay. Alright, that's funny.
Blocking
What do you have to say?
tutorials 3.
Oh shit, part 3?
The second failure in this tutorial space is a case of misteaching, where we accidentally teach the players something we didn't intend. This can be hard to avoid without extensive playtesting, since the game is always teaching, even when it's not by design. We cover a more extreme example of this later in Train Station. Some cases of misteaching.
They
are
literally
critical to
said,
fix,
"Why not?" in the
like
commentary
if the player
note.
learns
That's
the
fair.
wrong way to use a weapon.
I
or
swear I'm
interact with a
listening.
common element of the game. But this one was more subtle. While teaching players to move objects, we also taught them to stack physics objects.
I have
to
no
escape a
excuse
space.
because I listened to that one
Normally
twice.
that's fine, except we don't deploy that puzzle later in the game, and teaching something irrelevant just clutters up their mental toolkit and makes it harder to readily keep useful things in mind later on. Worse, stacking objects to escape the play space become a problem later on, something we had to actively prevent in multiple areas. With so many physics-based objects in the game, blocking this behavior without putting ceilings everywhere wasn't really an option. In the end, we hoped players wouldn't overthink this early lesson, and when playtests showed players getting stuck later on, we made sure not to remind them of it.
One more time. Just for old time's sake. But no, I definitely see how that could be difficult. I definitely see how that could be difficult for game design of just, like, especially so early on with physics objects of, like, there are physics objects all over this game. You can't bug test for all of them. Or I suppose you can, but it would take a lot. Oh my god, there's all my boxes. But no, yeah, I'm sure there are. I think the number that I heard somebody say, some, like, news source say about the amount of developer commentary was 3.5 hours worth of developer commentary. So that's really interesting.
Fall damage. Teaching players how to do things is
Guess
an
who didn't
essential thing
take
for the
any?
game to do. But for them to make confident decisions, they also need to understand the more subtle rules. This small moment covers 2 of those.
Do it with a cinder
First,
block?
it shows how far the player can fall without taking damage. Second, it introduces a bit of the game's vocabulary, how the game will communicate with them. Players often worry about taking fall damage, but they also worry about taking a step that they can't take back. So here, a welcoming crate to land on signals that dropping down is safe and it's the way forward. And when the crate breaks, it reinforces the physics simulation and is likely the first time players will see that larger objects can be broken apart.
That makes sense. All right. Every time I think of this room, by the way, that we're in currently, I think of the Stanley Parable. Not the release version, but the like source mod version of the Stanley Parable, because it had like a section of Half-Life 2 through like the train station leading up to here, and then there's like a crack in the floor of this room that you can pass through. Yeah, no, it's a really cool moment in that demo. And the Stanley Parable is actually a really funny game too, a really fun project to have watched evolve, because like of course I'm familiar with I saw it when it was a source mod, and then like again when it like got a full Steam release. And then again a third time with pick up that can. And then again a third time with Ultra Deluxe, which had a shitload of content and is like clearly the definitive version.
Pick up that can. Whoa. Contextualizing tutorials, creating a story scenario in which they happen, lets us do more than just stop the game to teach players something. We get to add narrative value to the moment. Here, teaching the player how to throw objects is
he got me anyway. I didn't know he would do that if he got up behind me.
Respond. After watching the Metro cops casually abuse citizens, it felt right to put the player in a similar position next.
Very iconic.
If they had opinions on how the citizens should have reacted, now they get to express them. Playtesting showed most players either complied or refused the request to pick up the can, but some tried to avoid the confrontation
Oh right, I forget
entirely.
Ultra Deluxe has
Others
Firewatch
would comply
in it.
initially, then retaliate after feeling humiliated.
There's Minecraft
By keeping the moment relatively constrained in both terms of player actions and the space itself, we could generally react appropriately to whatever choice they made.
This simple fact has...
But no, yeah, I love developer commentary, man. I'm such like an absolute lover, like an absolute like dog for developer commentary. Whoa. Back up.
Playtesting. Playtesting is a core part of how we make games.
Oh, yeah,
we can never fully predict how players will respond or what they'll take away from what we've built.
That's an understatement.
So we test to learn and hopefully improve. During a playtest, we don't guide or talk to the player, even if they're stuck,
they're talking about playtesting
as it's
in this
extremely
area,
unlikely
cool fact
that we'll be
about it.
sitting there next to the player once the game ships. Our goal is for testers to forget that they're playtesting altogether and play as if they're at home. Any interruptions risk skewing the data, so we only step in if there's a bug that's blocking progress, or more rarely, if their behavior is so confusing that we need to understand what they're thinking.
Same, although it's so scary hearing Half-Life 2 developer commentary, I could never. You mean like recording the commentary? Yeah, no, like I definitely get that. It seems insanely difficult, and it's commendable. It's commendable of them to be able to get into that headspace, because like I'm barely 23 years old, so I guess I have no frame of reference, but just picturing like getting somebody in a room, right, and then like, okay, talk about this thing you worked on 20 years ago, please. Can I have one? That seems difficult. It does, however, make a marked difference between like even like the episodes commentaries and whatnot, where they were recorded at the time, and so it's a lot of just like, oh yeah, no, in the episodes it's like, oh, we did this cool section with Dog where he throws the car and it took us forever to come up with it and we love it, and it's such a fun moment, and it really exemplifies everything that I love about working on this video game right now actively, because they were doing those like as they finished up development. That was like part of the development process, was recording those. But considering these are so hindsight, it's just like a bunch of like older, like wizened developers looking back at a thing that they made, and so it's like, yeah, no, at the time this thing that we did was really cool and inventive. Here are some anecdotes, and it's just as entertaining, don't get me wrong, but like, man, it's really something. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know, man.
Early in a Half-Life
Let's
game,
move on.
one of our goals is to make promises to the player, giving them a sense of what to expect later on. From movies to TV shows and books, All great entertainment does this in some way, and video games are no different.
This
The
can's already
promises
opened. I just
in a
got it.
Half-Life game can take different forms.
Check it out.
Some are simple, like offering just a glimpse of something intriguing. Others are more layered, like the interactions with Metro Cops. By putting the player in a powerless position against them, we set the stage for that future moment when they can finally get to retaliate.
Oh, you're swinging again, are you? Oh man, I can't wait for that moment where I get to retaliate. Ouch. Punch me in the back of the head, dog. And oh man, what a view too. Like this, am I crazy for thinking this looks significantly better than it did even a couple years ago in the Steam release? Like I just replayed this game last year and this already looks significantly better to me, but then I look at individual textures and I'm like, no, it's definitely the same.
The Citadel. We wanted the player's first view of City 17 to highlight the Citadel and its dominance over the city, representing the Combine's complete and total power over humanity. It also needed to
I meant making this game. Oh no, yeah, that's another like Herculean feat, dude. That's insane.
Despite its massive size, playtesters often missed it.
I could absolutely never make something to this level of
depth
detail.
And scale can be tricky on a computer monitor.
But then again, nobody
could,
you
games
know?
in VR, you'll likely have noticed that scale feels more natural. Anyway, in this case, the Citadel's position above the player didn't help things either, which may be because FPS games train players to focus straight ahead or down at their
There's
feet.
so many commentary notes.
To improve the chances of players taking in the Citadel, we added birds flying towards the structure. A subtle trick we found helps guide the player's view.
That's really clever. I didn't know. I've never noticed that. I've noticed the birds before, but I never like correlated the two. It's really interesting. That's like some finding out that fast food restaurants use yellow as like a primary color usually in their design because yellow like warm colors make hunger, make the brain have mental connections with hunger or whatever.
Exploration.
Anyway, exploration.
After being herded through the train station by Metro Cops, we wanted to give the player a chance to explore. This plaza offered several ways to interact with citizens, Metro Cops, scanners, and the city infrastructure. We aimed for these interactions to continue building the world without needing explicit tutorials, and we refined them until they work naturally, without any real training.
Am I crazy, or does this particular Breen piece of art of Breen look more like the beta Breen, the other guy that they had, the Slavic gentleman that they had in the Half-Life beta than it actually does Breen? I guess it's very low detail, so your brain kind of fills it in. It just looks a little bit like him to me. I don't know. But no, yeah, but I guess nobody could have made this game, you know? No one individual, because, you know... Don't get me wrong, some very fine developers worked on this, but, man, what, it's I think that's also what's so impressive about it, because it, really exemplifies what a AAA game, from a studio should be, you know, for its time, of, so chock full of, little details and ideas and iterated on by several people, you know.
Ropes.
Anyway,
one of the things we noticed in all of the reference images that we gathered for City 17 was that there were cables and wires everywhere, and that they were a large part of the high frequency detail in view. We loved the look of these older European cities enmeshed in the haphazard web of modern life. We felt like we needed a solution for cables, ropes, and similar elements, and we wanted them to be dynamic. Our level designers were eager to create plug puzzles, and connecting a cord to each plug helped players better understand the mechanics. Early in production, we built a rope system and iterated on it throughout development. Under the hood, each rope is made of multiple segments stretched between the two endpoints, and they can move independently. Each segment acts like a spring and responds to forces in the game, such as a gentle wind or the passing of a Combine gunship overhead. When rendered, each segment is shown facing the camera and is bump mapped, which is crucial for giving the ropes a realistic, rounded appearance.
Let me read a letter I recently received. Dear Dr.
But no, yeah, the ropes are also really interesting. I'm really big on the ropes.
Playtesting Anecdote 1. One memorable playtest reminded us that we can never be certain what players are thinking or what lessons they've taken from their experience. This tester, after playing from the start and stuck trying to open a door, spent several minutes going back and forth between the game and the keyboard settings. When we asked what they were looking for, They said they were searching for the inventory controls, thinking they could use an item they'd picked up earlier to unlock the door. While we'd seen them collect and drop several physics objects, they'd misunderstood what was happening. The tester believed that pressing the use key while holding an object moved it into an inventory because the item dropped straight down. We knew it was just gravity, but their assumption wasn't crazy. Some adventure games of that era did slide items into an invisible inventory that way.
Yeah.
We explained there was no inventory, and the playtest continued. Later, we considered whether we needed to address this, but since no other playtesters had the same confusion, and all of our potential solutions were more heavy-handed than necessary, we decided it was an outlier that was okay to remain unaddressed.
Oh my god, Jed, why are you screaming at me in chat?
How even the most subtle, overlooked details can mislead a player.
It also requires planning
But no, yeah, that's really interesting, that anecdote about inventory, because, like, again, Valve playtests the hell out of their games, and so I honestly, I would be shocked if we get their point insertion in this stream, just because, Jesus Christ, I'm taking a minute to talk about these things and everything too, and crack wise about them. But like, the thing about the inventory isn't ridiculous, but like, and don't take this as a comment about that particular playtester, but because they playtest the hell out of these games, some of the anecdotes that you hear about the playtesting of these games, you know, obviously coming from the people who designed the game and know the answers to all the questions relating to it, you know, that a player might have while playing. Oh my god, 22 months. In 2 months, it'll be 2 years that you've been subbed to me? Yeah, that's insane. I am shocked that I've been Twitch affiliate for 2 years. It was, you know, in hindsight, I hit that kind of fast. But let me not get too off topic here before I finish this 2-second anecdote. Because of the perspective that these anecdotes are told from, and how heavily they're play tested and how large the sample size is, it can sometimes lead to like thoughts about like, man, are the Valve playtesters just like dumb? Are the people they hire to play these games, have they ever played a video game before? Is that the trouble? But like, genuinely though, it is important for them, at least. It is important to them, I guess, to hit that sort of market. Well, let's continue. Where's the next node? Yo, what up, buddy? Oh, push me out of the way. What you got in there? What you got in there? Ouch. Oh, dev commentary node.
Strider. This
there
simple moment is a promise that you'll encounter this enormous thing later in the game. Even
I
an
miss him a lot of
uncomplicated
times, 'cause I
scene
kinda
such
come
as
down here and
this
backtrack
really does
sometimes.
require a lot of playtesting and
Fool around
iteration
a little.
because of Half-Life's goal of not taking control away from the player. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of small tweaks to ensure that as many players as possible are looking at the right place at the right time here. The street layout and the Metrocop scene are all set to guide the player's gaze, perfectly framing the Strider when it appears.
Yeah, that's such a wicked moment. Half-Life 2 is full of such little moments like that are fantastic. Sorry I went away, no trouble. You missed a couple of commentary nodes in the plaza, but nothing massive.
Early game exploration. Up until this plaza, the player likely hasn't had to think much about their path, as it's been clear and straightforward. But here, we wanted to encourage exploration, which meant making the way forward less obvious.
I cannot.
Which can produce a feeling of being lost or,
anyway.
worse, confused, as you might expect.
Those are all the commentary
These
notes
kinds
here,
of
though,
shifts
I think.
can be tough, especially early in the game, when the player is still learning the game's guidance cues.
Move on.
Here, it's further complicated by
There's the next
force-fielded checkpoints, which allow NPC citizens to move
Oh, you
through,
just climb back
but
over,
restrict
can't
the
you?
player, leading many
crouch jump
playtesters to
that.
believe that there was a way to bypass
You
them.
absolutely can.
Ultimately, it was extensive testing that helped us find the right visibility for the alley forward, using lighting, layout, and a wooden crate, an object players have already used as a sign they're headed in the right direction, all to subtly guide them forward.
Yeah, no, but no, I get what you mean. I'll reiterate, since you were away, that like, no, yeah, it absolutely takes a village to put this kind of art together. You know, it's such like a phenomenal little thing.
Closed captions. During
Closed
Half-Life 2
captions.
development, we were approached by folks interested in accessibility who encouraged us to go beyond the subtitle system we had built for Half-Life 1. They requested a full-featured
There wasn't
closed
a
captioning
subtitle
system to capture
system
all game
in,
sounds, not just dialogue.
In Half-Life 1,
This
was
turned
there?
out to be a much tougher challenge.
I mean,
than
there is
expected.
now, but there wasn't before.
Half-Life 2 produced a wide variety of sounds, and categorizing them for captions was crucial. Prioritization was also key,
Dialogue needed to stand out, and it had to be clear who was speaking. Ambient sounds, like distant combat, were important for setting the mood in some levels, but less so if there was an enemy shooting nearby. Our level designers also often reuse sounds in different contexts, so sound might require captioning in one area, but not in another. Ultimately, every sound in the game ended up with
they put it in for the 25th,
formatted
didn't they?
almost like a small version of HTML.
No, the mod broke is what happened. I'm stupid. I'm thinking of the subtitle mod for Half-Life 1.
It was too large to keep in memory, so we built an asynchronous caching system to handle it efficiently.
No, you're right. But also, I will keep an eye out on all the secret spots that I know about, at least. That mod always sucked. Yeah, it was never perfect. I do commend the effort, though, to put that kind of thing together. But yeah, I'll check secret spots as we go.
Starts. First the building, then the whole block. They have no reason to come to our place.
Might need them pointed out at the time, because, again, I still haven't seen all the little caches in Water Hazard, just because I rarely ever stop to find them. Oh my Christ! Oh my god, my game was shocked as I am, dude. Holy hell at the commentary nodes.
Physics simulation. Even though we began Half-Life 2 with a functional third-party physics simulation, it still took us years of additional work both on the simulation itself and its integration into the game until we felt like we could meet our designers' ambitions. Maintaining a shippable level of quality and performance was something we knew would be a challenge along the way, but the more subtle issue was actually figuring out what to simulate and to what extent. We can't simulate everything, and even if we could, there are game design reasons why the experience is better when we don't. In many cases, we deliberately bend the simulation to improve the player's experience. These adjustments usually go unnoticed because they align with player intentions. For example, we disable collisions between the player and large objects to let them turn in narrow spaces. Or we tweak the Combine rifle's alternate fire to gently guide the Combine ball toward enemies, making it more effective.
That's kind of right? But no, yeah, I love hearing about how they, like, bend all the little systems in this game. The baby! There was a video of the Half-Life 2, some of the members of the Half-Life 2 team watching a speed run of the game. And they talked about this baby and one of the blue crates, and that there was, like, a crate baby trick that you could do. Did people ever figure out what that was? I don't keep up with the speedrunning scene for this game all that heavily. Get in there. Woo!
Crate baby. This small baby doll has a long legacy. During the long months of internal testing, some of the team turned it into a challenge, a way to make the 47th playthrough of a game a bit more fun. They'd place the doll inside of a nearby blue crate and see how far they could carry it throughout the game.
We'll talk about the trick.
After Half-Life 2 launched, the community started carrying Crate Baby as well, adding their own stories and rules to the mix. A few years later, while working on Episode 2, this was the inspiration for the Little Rocket Man achievement, where players had to carry a garden gnome dubbed Gnome Chomsky throughout the entire episode. Chomsky even made a comeback for Left 4 Dead 2 in the Garden Gnome achievement,
you see the ropes
where players had to carry him through the Dark Carnival campaign. These kind of interactions with players are some of the most rewarding parts of game development. We design games with theories in mind, but you never really know where things are going until players get their hands on it.
That did not break into as many pieces as it used to be made out of.
Physics Simulation 2. Areas where game design or other constraints impacted the physical simulation often required extra tuning to keep the simulation from blowing up. As an example, early on we experimented with increasing the simulation on the player entity, which is to say, make player movement much more a part of the physical simulation of the world. We knew this might make movement feel less precise, but hoped it could lead to some novel experiences. However, after tuning the movement to match the less simulated version, we hit a major problem. The physical force needed for the player to move at their usual speed was so high that simply running into other simulated objects could result in death from the impact.
Oh my god.
We iterated on it, but ultimately couldn't find a solution we liked, and reverted to the less simulated movement. However, this wasn't exactly the easier path. It introduced new challenges with how the less simulated player interacted with the more simulated objects in the game. But it did allow us to deliver the precise movement experience we wanted.
Oh, there we go. Got it. Awesome.
Playground. When we discussed ways to highlight our physics simulation around the city environment, a playground felt like the natural fit. And for players paying attention to Dr. Breen, It's also a reminder of the cost of humanity's surrender to the Combine.
Whoa, I fell off.
We chose a few playground structures with interesting physics potential and began tuning them. Even with the advanced physics simulation we had at the time, setups like this always required hand tuning, as we had fully simulated objects interacting with non- or partially simulated ones, such as the player or static world geometry. It might be easy to assume that a simulation can carry a lot of the load of implementation, but even now, 20 years later, that is rarely the case. Back when we were working on the playground, late in development on the game, we couldn't get the friction on the slide to feel right, so we decided to break the ladder so the player couldn't get up there. However, you still can just walk right up the front. As is commonly
you can indeed, can't you?
Get the last laugh on us.
Can't believe that. Actively walking up the front of the slide and just getting out. Well, you can just walk up the front of the slide. I got all of them, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yep, that's all of them. Unless there's one up there that I missed. Let me double check. I just don't want to miss one, you know? I don't want to miss out on a commentary note, because these are all really interesting little tidbits. I always like this boot, by the way. One of my favorite little props in the game. Oh, we're stuttering. We're stuttering. Oh, man. Map transition.
Materials
and a commentary
and
note.
Half-Life 2 came out in the midst of a significant shift in 3D graphics, where the industry moved from textures to materials and shaders. In Half-Life 1, every surface had a texture, essentially an image wrapped onto the polygons of the surface. But by Half-Life 2, just 5 years later, every surface had both a material and a shader. The shader was a lump of code that customized how the surface was rendered. The material defined properties for how the surface behaved physically and how it responded to gameplay features. It also held references to textures and other parameters for the shader to use for rendering. As a result, artists and designers had much more control over how things looked and behaved. However, this came with a trade-off. Half-Life 1 could run on a computer with only a CPU, but Half-Life 2 required a GPU because the computations needed for materials and shaders were specifically designed for GPU hardware.
Of course.
The refracting glass door here is a clear example of a custom shader, but every surface in the scene is actually running a shader of some kind.
Wow. They talked about, speaking of graphics cards, in the documentary they released about Half-Life 2, which I highly recommend that they released alongside this update. They got together and were like, oh yeah, no, we're doing some physics simulations and getting physics objects together, and we found out that like some of the math, like the problem we were running into was the fundamental math of the graphics cards that we were using was incorrect, and it's very hard to convince a graphics card manufacturer that they did it wrong, you know? Which rings true to me, at least. And that's so fucking funny.
Cube maps. With the addition of materials and shaders, we needed a solution for reflective surfaces like glass and steel.
There we go.
These surfaces had to know what to reflect, but in 2003, we couldn't do any of that rendering in real time. So we developed the cube map system for pre-computed reflections. A cube map is a set of 6 images.
Sorry, is Valve responsible for cube maps
capturing
too?
The environment in every
I didn't know
direction,
that.
like a panoramic photo that surrounds you on all sides.
That's not quite true,
Level
right?
designers placed invisible marker entities throughout the levels, and during map compilation, we generate a cube map at each marker.
I had no idea.
Then, during gameplay, when rendering a reflective surface, we locate the nearest pre-computed cube map to create the reflection.
Okay, here, hold on. We're Googling this. We're finding out who invented the cube map. Some guy called Ned Green in 1986, so saith. Yeah, no, Valve didn't do this. Okay. I guess they mean they developed it for Source, like as in like they put one in Source Engine. Let's see, there's a commentary node down there at the end of the hallway, but we'll get to the end of the hallway, believe me, we'll get there. There's things to see. Hi, guy.
Was that you knocking? I didn't even know we still had a door.
That's a funny little piece of dialogue.
Field of view. In Half-Life 1, we used a 90-degree field of view, or FOV, which was fairly standard for first-person shooters at the time. But during Half-Life 2's development, we grew unhappy with it. With our game's focus on characters, we'd put extensive effort into detailed facial and body animations. But the 90-degree FOV just didn't allow players to get close enough to fully appreciate that detail. So we began experimenting with a tighter FOV and ultimately landed on 75 degrees. It took some adjustment for both us and players, and it required an additional FOV for view models, which are the player's weapon, held at the bottom of the screen. Their models were originally built with 90 degrees in mind, so they looked distorted at 75. But this change succeeded in doing what we wanted, putting our characters front and center in the game.
Why would they switch to doing the boards the other way at this doorway? That's so odd from like a construction standpoint. Is that a missing texture over there? That's a missing texture over there.
He's one of us.
Reference maps.
Reference maps.
As our characters grew more lifelike between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, we wanted the game world to feel equally realistic. In Half-Life 1, the limitations of first-person games often made it easier to lean on stylized or abstracted environments. But with Half-Life 2, we set out to create a setting that felt grounded in reality, which focusing on a lot of small details we hadn't before.
I don't know why the game's lagging so much.
Was creating reference maps to standardize how
like that
we'd
so
map
much.
real-world proportions into the game. These maps establish details like wall and door dimensions, doorknob heights, interior lighting, furniture scale, and the general scale of common objects.
I got it.
We created standardized textures for level designers, complete with scale and lighting values. The layouts would be consistent from the start. Besides setting up the physical world, these reference maps defined how the player would move through it, how high they could jump, how low they could duck, and the size of spaces like vents. Using these maps as foundation, we were able to keep our world geometry consistent and ensure realistically sized spaces across the game.
Gosh, they showed some of those maps. They showed one of those like scale reference maps in the documentary, and man, they are a wonder to look at. I'm a real like map enthusiast when it comes like a test like dev map enthusiast.
It's gonna be okay.
So like it really.
What are we going to do?
We'll think of something.
It really like got me. The couch couple, everybody.
When is it all going to end?
Missing material. Early on in developing our low-level graphics code, we realized it would be difficult to spot polygons that weren't rendering due to a missing texture. When this happened, you'd typically just see black where the polygon should be, which could easily go unnoticed in darker scenes. To catch this bug more reliably, we created an error texture that would be visually unmistakable and generated automatically whenever a texture failed to load. This gave rise to the now iconic purple and black checkerboard texture, which has since taken on a life of its own well beyond Half-Life 2.
Yeah, I'd say most people probably associate it more with Gary's mod, honestly. It's far more prevalent there. Breaking these windows is genuinely fun. It's such a good time. Like, that's one thing they nailed very well, was like not only making it somewhat realistic, especially for the time, when it comes to like how the physics objects work, but also making them so much fun to fuck around with. It's such a good time. Nothing in here. Alright, move on, shall we? Get out of here. No commentary nodes. Get moving.
The raid. The section ahead, where the Metro cops raid the apartment while the player is inside, took a lot of iteration to get right. Generally, we design Half-Life to let players set their own pace, since people move through the game in a variety of ways. Some players run, ignoring anything that doesn't seem like a threat, while others methodically poke at everything.
Door's blocked off
so
now,
whenever we need to force a specific pace, it's always a challenge to ensure players perceive that pace and naturally play along. Since this is the first time we do this, we had to put in a lot of work to make it clear to the player that they needed to move quickly, and there's no time for exploration here.
No, absolutely, and Half-Life 2 doesn't do that often. It really, really doesn't. There's a lot of times when... Let's move on, because they're going to fucking force me out of this area in a second.
In addition to making sure the player felt the pressure to move forward, we had to ensure the raid itself was foolproof. There couldn't be any way for the player to avoid it or double back past the Metro cop. The real challenge wasn't that players would try to break the scene, but that many would panic and run in random directions once they realized they were under threat for the first time.
Glad you're having fun in Dragon
This
Ball.
moment requires a delicate balance. We wanted a heart-pounding escape, the sense of real danger, but we wanted players to make it through on their first try and feel like they escaped by the skin of their teeth. To achieve this, we kept the path ahead clear and reminiscent to the one they had just taken through the previous floor. A series of carefully placed triggers controls the threats appearing ahead and behind, maintaining the pressure while still giving players enough time to stay ahead of their pursuers.
But they talked about it again in the documentary that I'm going to be referencing pretty consistently. That they talked about how, like, in sections with, like, the airboat, like, root canal, how they had to, like, stop and make a bunch of, like, side areas because players just, like, sometimes wanted to just get out of the airboat at every opportunity and take a look around, and so they had to find ways to reward that, while also making it still able to be enjoyed as a fast-paced section. I think that's an interesting dichotomy to work with. Okay, alright, here we go. Here we go. Now it's tight. Bro's napping. Oh, okay. Okay, no commentary nodes. Just checking, just checking. Just having a look around for commentary nodes. Don't mind me. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's all the raid stuff.
Keep moving. Head for the roof.
Oh my god, oh my god. Map loading. Okay. Hurrah! Our next commentary node is here.
Health and no HUD. The rooftop chase sequence posed a unique design challenge. We didn't want it to be a true gameplay obstacle, and our best case was for players to make it through on their first try. But we still wanted to create the sense of real danger, where players felt legitimately threatened if they didn't keep moving. The challenge was that without the HEV suit, players don't technically have a heads-up display or HUD, which means no way to show damage or remaining health. After some experimenting, we created a special health system for this section, using a red glow around the screen to indicate damage. Players reacted as we hoped, taking it as a sign to keep moving, and the chase unfolded as intended. To top it off, we made health regenerate quickly so the glow wouldn't linger, reinforcing to players that running was indeed the right choice, and ensuring players weren't taken down by a stray bullet at the end just because they dawdled or hesitated earlier on.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, there's so much thought put into, like, making this kind of thing feel good for the player, as well as be, like, fun and interesting. Like, it's definitely, like, a very player-first environment. And, like, fuck what is correct, what feels correct, you know? And I really appreciate that as a player who likes to feel cool and feel like I'm being effective while playing video games.
Playtesting anecdote 2.
Oh shit.
In the upcoming section, we needed the player to be knocked down so Alex could save them. With limited time and resources, we simplified the encounter as much as possible.
Oh, weird.
Reusing existing systems and letting it play out like a normal combat sequence. With a custom event triggered when the player...
crates in here. All the big crates. Damn it!
Playtesting anecdote 2.
Okay, try again.
In the upcoming section, we needed the player to be knocked down so Alex could save them. With limited time and resources, we simplified the encounter as much as possible. Reusing existing systems and letting it play out like a normal combat sequence, with a custom event triggered when the player died. After a few playtests to fine-tune the timing, we moved on. But as we got close to shipping, we encountered a problem with a playtester who quick-saved constantly and immediately hit quick-load whenever they thought they'd failed. When a Metro Cop hit them, they quick-loaded before Alex could step in, repeating this more than 10 times before we asked them to stop. At this stage of development, in the final bug fixing phase, we had to limit ourselves to fixing only game-breaking issues, since even small changes could risk breaking something more important. Knowing this was a rare edge case, because most players had no trouble, we made a few conservative changes. We shortened the delay between the knockdown and Alex's first line, and changed the fade-out color to white instead of black, which wasn't ultimately that useful since players hadn't died enough yet to associate black with death. We considered disabling quick load for the few seconds that the scene plays out, but we were worried that could introduce a bug where quick load became disabled permanently.
Yeah, that could be a problem. Anyway, let's meet Alex, shall we? Nah, I'm leaving, buddy. Come get me. I'm hanging out in here now. Oh. Speaking of introducing bugs, I think I'm just in the clear if I stay in this corner. Speaking of introducing bugs, I don't think I've ever backtracked in this area. Fine, you can have me. They're just talking about how, like, we don't want to cause any, like, game-breaking bugs or anything, and we only need to fix game-breaking ones. Because if not, we might make a new game-breaking one.
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
I just found a soft lock. Well, not, I guess not a soft lock, but, like,
the Combine can
a
be
soft,
awake, but once
soft
they're
lock.
up, you don't want to get in their way.
Yeah. Okay. One
Dr.
commentary
Kleiner
note
said
here.
you'd be coming this way. I don't think it occurred to him that you might not have a map.
Alex. Nailing Alex's design
I like the idea
was a big
that Kleiner
challenge.
just has
We
enough
wanted the
faith in
player
me
to
to
both
not-
respect and care for her. Saving Eli was a key player goal midway through the game, and we knew that getting players to care about that goal would be easier if they
I don't wanna
also
see if I
cared
can make
about
that
Alex
jump.
and her relationship with her father. We intentionally designed, wrote dialogue, and cast a voice actor for Alex to be savvy, capable, and relatable within the Combine-controlled world, while
And they did a
also
great
making
job
her
doing that, I
attractive
think.
and charismatic. We aim to avoid the objectification,
Really great performance
exaggeration,
and
and
really great character.
hypersexuality that many games of the 2000s featured, as we felt that would undermine our goals for her character.
Feminism win, I guess. Hell yeah. I like it when women in video games are not sexualized. Okay. One more try. I didn't consider the railing. Yeah, there's no way. There's no shot. Okay, let's get in here. Let's go away.
I'm Alex Vance. My father worked with you back in Black Mesa. I'm sure you don't remember me, though.
Nice going,
A
Alex.
few words, aren't you?
Commentary node.
NPCs on elevators.
Mm-hmm.
We often spend a significant amount of time solving problems that players might not even notice. Many of these are subtle design challenges, while others stem from multiple systems interacting with each other. For example, getting non-player characters to ride in elevators posed a complex problem because it involved various systems, NPC AI decision-making, navigation planning, and movement simulation, to name a few. Additionally, the elevator itself had its own simulation requirements unrelated to NPCs. One of the more subtle challenges came from the fact that we simulate NPCs at a slower rate than we simulate elevators.
Can't do the little
This
up
meant
down.
that NPCs on a descending elevator would simulate to on the elevator, and
The
then
game is louder
the
than me?
elevator
Okay, I'll
would
fix
simulate
that.
a few
Nobody
times,
mentioned.
each time moving further down the elevator shaft, subtly leaving the NPC behind. Shortly after that, the NPC would simulate a second time and pop itself down on the elevator floor once again. You can imagine that it was hard to take Alex seriously when she was constantly falling down in small increments while talking to you.
Yeah, no, that does seem difficult. Oh wow, the game is pretty fucking loud, ain't it? And we're still clowned. Let me unclown. I hope you enjoyed your like hour of clown rat.
Interactive storytelling. When we started on Half-Life 2, storytelling in games was generally either
that
high
too
fidelity
quiet?
and linear or low fidelity and interactive. We knew players had seen high-quality storytelling in games, but they'd never been placed right in the middle of it, able to watch it unfold around them, interact with it, and examine any part closely. While that goal excited us, we didn't yet know how it would work or what kind of technology we'd need to make it happen. We had built a variety of storytelling technology in Half-Life 1, but it was mostly presented in front of the player and lacked the interactivity and fidelity we were aiming for. So Kleiner's lab became the section of the game we used as a testbed to figure out how our interactive storytelling would actually function.
That's pretty wicked. But how's the game now? Is it too loud, too quiet? What are we looking at?
Funny, you showing up on this day in particular.
Hey, we've hit chapter 2, and it only took us an hour and 8 minutes. I can't think about this jump off the stairs
Escape the city on foot.
without thinking about Alex fucking dies, the YouTube video.
Today, we're finally on the verge of having a better way.
Alright, Alex. I'm gonna hang out over here. You still giving dialogue over there? Am I missing out on dialogue?
Kleiner's lab.
Okay.
Kleiner's lab was the first piece of storytelling we worked on, and the one that took the longest to figure out. In addition to its role in launching the player into the game, it eventually became the unifying vision for the development team in terms of storytelling. As we began building our characters and narrative delivery around the player, many questions arose, all of which felt like major risks for the game. Would players be able to extract the important information from the scene? Could we get them to care about these characters? How would we support players with varying levels of investment in the story? How costly
Varying
would it be to
levels of
produce a scene
investment.
like this? And how many more would we need? These and many more were questions we couldn't answer until we'd built enough of the scene and tested it with a lot of playtesters. Frustratingly, unlike many other problems we face, these weren't questions we could confidently answer until we had done significant work. We can often test gameplay ideas with low-fidelity prototypes, but if a player isn't invested in our storytelling when the characters are just gray blocks, how confident can we be that they'll care once the characters are fully realized?
I feel like that's a little unfair to say. Let me check on the game, see how loud it is. It could stand to be a little louder. But I think that's a little unfair to say. If they don't care when they're gray blocks, how do we know that they'll care when the characters are fully realized? I get that that's like a valid concern, but honestly, with the addition of hindsight, I can't help but think. I can't help but think that think about the fact that Half-Life 2's characters are so particular and they're so like, you know, they're so expressive that like they do a lot of the heavy lifting to make you give a shit.
The system we built and iterated on to deliver Half-Life 2's storytelling was internally called Choreo, short for choreography.
Choreo.
Early on, we found it useful to imagine we were writing a play where one of the actors didn't know the script. We needed a system that could control all the other actors, moving them around the stage, delivering their performances and speaking their lines. To handle this, the other actors would need to seamlessly mix our directorial commands with dynamic responses to the player's position and behavior.
Right.
Timing was clearly
That could be
going
difficult.
to be a major challenge, as any part of the scene might need to lengthen, contract, or even pause, depending on what the player was doing.
Here, let me buy you a drink.
I'll buy you a stink. Ew. Ew. Well, the actual dialogue.
Nice to finally meet you.
Oh no, because she waits out here for you
FacePoser.
to go in first.
The primary tool we built to power the Choreo system was called FacePoser, an
Watch Alex's
inaccurately
face
named
while we do this.
program that allowed our animators to lay out the entire structure of our scenes. along the
Inaccurately
timeline.
named.
The timeline contained a series of Choreo commands for the actors, along with all the necessary information for them to perform those commands. By layering these commands on the timeline, animators could easily describe how an actor might need to face one thing while talking towards another and walk to a different location, all at the same time.
Walk to a
But the timeline wasn't a fixed linear
Oreo
sequence.
on that thing.
Actors would follow their commands, but they had to respond
Sorry, that
dynamically
was
to the
awful.
world around them. An actor
I
might take longer
apologize
to
for my
move to a
walk to
location
a-
if the player is in the way, or they might need to wait to deliver a line because another actor has been delayed by the player. FacePoser allowed us to rapidly iterate on scenes, trying different layouts, dialogue deliveries, and timings. This ability to quickly experiment and adjust proved critical in finding the right performances to achieve our character and narrative goals.
Now, let's get out of this gray box and into Kleiner's lab. Come on, get the scene started.
Where did she get to? Lamar, come out of there!
There's so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think this is the most we've ever seen in one room.
Lamar has gotten out of her crate again. If I didn't know better, I'd suspect Barney of trapping and... My
Barney.
goodness. Gordon Freeman. It really is you, isn't it?
I found him wandering around outside.
Love Kleiner. Big Kleiner fan.
Troublemaker, isn't he?
We owe a great deal to Dr. Freeman, even if trouble does tend to follow in his wake.
Ooh, we're walking. Ooh, we're
I
walking.
must say, Gordon, you come at a very opportune time. Alex has just installed the final piece for our resurrected teleport.
I can't take any credit for the breakthrough, Doctor.
Nonsense. Your talents surpass...
Gotta be a minute before we can listen to any of these commentary notes if I also want to see the original scene as well.
There you are.
Barney's
Man,
here.
Gordon, you stirred up the hive.
Oh shit, G-Man sighting, G-Man sighting.
We can't
Oh,
keep
which
him here
monitor
long,
is he
Doc.
on?
It'll jeopardize everything we've worked for.
Don't worry. He's
I think I already
coming with
missed
me.
it. Whoa.
That's right, Barney. This is a red letter day. We'll inaugurate the new teleport with a double transmission.
You mean it's working?
Yeah, I already
For
missed
real
him.
this time? Because I still have nightmares about that cat.
No, there's nothing to be nervous about.
What cat?
Barney, you have a pussy nightmares.
Since then, major strides.
What cat?
I cast upon you, pussy nightmare.
Oh dear, you're right. I almost forgot. Barney, I'll give you the honor.
I've got to get back on my shift, but okay.
But okay. Ba-ba-da-ba. 9, by the way. That makes 9 in this room. I love Lamar. Lamar's a very fun character.
You got rid of that test.
Certainly not.
Oh, look at that.
Never fear, Gordon. She's debeaked and completely.
I love that
harmless.
the head
The
crabs
worst
still
you
make
might do is attempt to
Half-Life 1
couple
noises.
Your head, fruitlessly.
Get that thing away from me.
Yeah, my pet.
Yeah, hop to her.
Hop up. No, not up.
Couple
there.
on that thing.
No. Careful, Lamar. Those are quite fragile. Oh, fie. It'll be another week before I can coax her out of there.
Yeah, longer if we're lucky.
Barney, you're not an animal person.
Well, Gordon, go ahead. Slip into your suit now.
Slip in, fucking.
Choreo
like some kind of lizard.
This debug visualization shows the 2 most common choreo commands actors receive throughout a scene, internally known as look-ats and move-tos.
Oh.
Actors are given targets to look at, sometimes more than one at a time, and then try to focus on the one that makes the most sense given their current state. At the same time, they might be
more
receiving
interesting to look at during the scene,
which tell them to move to a location and face a specific direction
Big
or object.
arrow.
Even these seemingly simple commands involved a lot of complexity. A scene might require an actor to talk while typing on a keyboard, all while looking at an object the player is holding. Since we couldn't predict where the player would be during playback, authoring scenes like this required us to break each element of the scene into separate pieces and layers.
We
These
recycled.
could then be reassembled as needed during playback, based on the player's actions and interrupted if necessary.
Okay, it's 1 of 9.
Lab interactivity. In our choreo scene,
Okay. Alright, gamers. Holy shit, we're so back indeed. I don't know if Twitch is going to split this into more than one stream. Did I hit the noise canceling button on my headphones? Hold on a minute. There we go. That's more like it. I guess I did. We've been having some issues with the internet over here today. So it might have been a bad day to choose to stream. But we're back! Jesus Christ, we're back. And it only took like 5 minutes. It only took like 5 minutes. You know what? That's not so bad. That's not so bad at all. I don't know if Twitch is going to split this into 2 streams or not, which is going to play hell with the analytics. But either way, let's go ahead and get the music out of here and continue through Kleiner's lab, shall we? I don't know how long I've got tonight, by the way. I have literally no idea how long I've got tonight. It's genuinely, like, I've got plans later, but nothing huge. Oh, let me get off my just chatting before we get back into it.
More interactive. Essentially toys for the
We're talking about this, like, ADHD bit for players who can't stand still for 2 seconds.
Into these, like the cactus mini teleporter, hinting at the upcoming teleporter failure. It was a delicate balance. Too much visual interest could distract players from the core of the scene. Ultimately, Kleiner's lab played it safe with interactivity, as it was the first major choreo scene. Later, in Eli's lab, we explored it more deeply, ensuring the characters themselves paid attention to what the players were tinkering with.
I'm glad that the little toys they put in are actually plot important, you know? Okay, 3 of 9.
Delivery. It took a lot of iteration and playtesting to strike the right balance of information and emotional connection in our major choreo scenes.
Yeah,
Each scene had a lot of information we needed to convey to the player, but we couldn't just have characters spouting exposition. Players would start thinking of them more as signposts than as
wall
people.
light.
We needed to take the time to let the characters interact with each other, allowing the player to observe the relationships. At the same time, we had to expand upon the world, giving the player a sense of everything that had happened while they were gone.
Big fucking server rack.
All this had to be done carefully, without taking too long. We wanted the game to work for players who were less invested in the narrative.
Is that a 3D model?
Animation became
like
a powerful
3D
tool in
graph.
communicating the emotional connections between characters, often conveying the depth of a moment quickly without overstating it. Humor was another commonly used tool, helping to puncture a setup and disarm the player when things got a bit too heavy.
Oh, look at that one.
Gordon,
Warning.
please, I'm eager to see if your old suit still fits.
I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put on the suit, I swear. Give me a minute to work my way around the lab.
Archetypes.
Archetypes.
We
Miners
wanted
are
to
good
create
archetype.
narrative links between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 through our characters.
Rushing me around.
Our idea was to design individuals who felt like representations of Half-Life 1's archetypes, so that players might find them familiar, almost as though they'd met them in Half-Life 1 at some point, that they could quite remember.
Okay, not quite.
We based Dr. Kleiner on the scientist model we felt was the most iconic, and his personality was largely shaped by Hal Robbins, whose voice and performances had defined the Half-Life 1 scientists. One day, when we were in the thick of trying to figure out this character, Dr. Kleiner's face came into focus as we happened to share an elevator with an accountant from an office on another floor of our building, and looking at him, it was clear that this is Dr. Kleiner's face. Luckily, he was receptive when we asked if we could photograph him for a video game character.
What if the guy was just like, nah, that sounds like a fucking awful idea. I don't want to do that. New Kleiner, I guess.
Tone.
Tone?
Setting the right tone for our characters and their dialogue was critical.
Big teleporter model.
We aimed for a respectful, almost pleasant style of interaction with the player, while avoiding anything that felt too subservient.
Look at the little paper pal Kleiner.
This balance was especially tricky with Alex, who needed to support the player without compromising the strength of her character, something we felt was crucial for players to respect her. Her relationship with Eli was a core driver of the player's motivations, so it was important that players liked her and wanted to help her. We also wanted to contrast the warmth and camaraderie between the player's allies against the hostilities of Breen and the Combine, inspiring a sense of righteous indignation in the players for the battles ahead.
That's really
Gordon,
cute,
the longer
dude.
you delay, the greater the danger to us all.
Good! Be in danger! Animation.
Constructing believable human motion for our characters out of many discrete layers of animation required a lot of technological iteration. Even simple actions like turning to look at something or walking to a location became more complex when combined with the need to dynamically respond to the player and the requirements of choreo commands. For example, turning to look at something had to be fully decomposed, allowing a character to use any combination of its eyes, head, shoulders, upper torso, or full body to face a target. In Half-Life 1, human characters had their bodies separated into upper and lower halves, allowing them to walk in one direction while facing
I didn't know
another.
you could just walk through here.
However, this approach was
like
too
came to a dead
abstract
end
for
over here.
Half-Life 2's characters. Instead, our animators created walking animations in all 8 directions of the compass, which could then be smoothly blended together at runtime.
Awesome. Okay, so we've only got a few more commentary notes to go, and then we'll be free of this and we can put our suit on.
See if your old suit still fits.
Character reactions.
Josh Kleiner.
Figuring out what characters should react to and how was an ongoing challenge. At the core,
This looks like the crate model from Half-Life 1, the little pet crate.
However, any response from the game can be seen as a reward by the player. So, what characters react to and what they ignore teaches the player about the kind of input the game expects. As a result, we made sure to respond to things we wanted more of, like players tinkering with devices in the lab, and ignored behaviors we wanted less of, like players repeatedly slapping Kleiner in the face with a box over and over again. Seriously, we watched a playtester do it for 5 minutes straight.
To see if your old suit still fits.
Oh my god. One line of dialogue, Kleiner.
In the Half-Life 1 era, player goals in FPS games were still largely about fighting and defeating an obviously evil enemy. It was hard to get players to care about characters when they were as low fidelity as they were in Half-Life 1. With the planned improvements in character fidelity for Half-Life 2, we wanted to take a shot at making characters the driving force of the narrative. Our goal was for the player's motivations to align with those of our characters, for the player to care about these people, their hopes and fears, and to want them to succeed. With this in mind, we were able to assemble our approach to character and dialogue. We would create a set of characters who liked and cared about each other, hoping that the player would feel the same. These characters would interact in a way that felt inclusive, like a group of old friends who see the player as one of them, just someone who's been away for a while. If the characters demonstrated realistic emotional connections with each other, we believed we could build an emotional connection with the player as well.
Hell yeah. I love building emotional connections with the player.
Come on, Gordon. We don't have time to fool around. Get your suit on.
We have plenty of time to fool around.
Voice actors. To create
I'd
more
love to hear more about the voice
and
cast.
multidimensional characters in Half-Life 2, we needed to evolve our approach to working with voice actors. While running through a script with a modicum of direction was sufficient for much of the NPC dialogue for Half-Life 1, for Half-Life 2, we decided to give the actors more of an opportunity to be involved in helping to define the characters and bring them to life. We provided much more story context to the actors, showing them the game world, the environments their characters inhabited, and the other characters they interacted with. We sought actors who could take all that information and synthesize it into their performances to elevate their characters beyond what we had imagined. We held multiple sessions with the main actors, allowing them to digest and build upon their characters over time.
That's really cool.
For scenes where characters are interacting
oh my god, this
with
is so
other,
long.
We'd often cue an actor with performances from other actors in the scene to create a better sense of connection and flow. Though we'd arrive at the studio with a script and a plan for the recording session, we made sure that the actors felt empowered and had the space to bring their own ideas to the character and performances. Having animators attend the voiceover sessions also proved critical, as they were responsible for stitching the characters' dialogue together with physical actions and expressions to form the resulting choreo scene. Often, animators found that their plans for how a scene would play out evolved quite a bit after working with the voice actor.
That's phenomenal to hear. I love it when that kind of thing is said. Ooh. Lamar's up here somewhere.
Let's get a move on.
Alright, fine. Yeah, let's get a move on. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do the Vox doesn't have literally 2 seconds to commentate.
Still fits you like a glove. At least the glove parts do.
All the interesting commentaries in these nodes, man. How am I supposed to add to that? I'm just here to enjoy and give my own thoughts.
The Mark V hazardous environment suit has been redesigned for comfort and utility. Oh dear.
Doc, we don't have time for this.
Whoa.
At least get that suit juiced up, Gordon.
Good idea. There's a charger on the wall. I've modified
I'll charge it up.
to draw
Don't worry, I got it.
Combine energy outlets.
Combine. I know what I'm doing.
They patrol.
Meanwhile, let's get this show on the road.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, hell yeah. Teleport time. Oh my gosh, yet more commentary. 3? Only 3. That's what, 10, 11, and 12 for this area? Lot of thoughts about Kleiner's lab.
Why don't you position yourself near the panel over there and wait for my word?
Isaac, are you there?
Yes, Eli. Bit of a holdup on this end. You'll never guess who found his way into our lab this morning.
Oh, that's not who I think it is it?
Indeed it is, and it's our intention to send him packing straight away in the company of your lovely daughter.
Holy shit, Gordon Freeman is packing?
We're all set on this end.
Then let's do it.
Who would have known?
Let's see, the massless field flux should self-limit, and I've clamped the manifold parameters to C base and LT orbifold, Hilbert inclusive. Conditions could hardly be more
yes, Hilbert inclusive.
That's what you said last time.
Hey, yeah, about that cat.
Initializing in
I could believe he said that before. Sure.
2, 1. No fiddlesticks. What now?
Hey, that's the there's no sound effect for this
Dear me,
noise.
You're right. Gordon, would you mind
You can hear it in
plugging
Portal
us
2.
It's right
in
there,
a moment.
Gordon.
Scene interactivity. At certain points in our choreo scenes, we require the player to take action. Beyond simply giving them something to do and keeping them engaged, these moments served a few key purposes. First, they allow the player to catch up, even if they've been distracted by something else in the environment. The scene could safely pause until the player completed the task, ensuring they were back and paying attention. At the same time,
Eli walked away.
the player where we needed them, which
Bro
was
does not
framing
care.
the scene and making sure they saw something important.
In
some cases, we got double value out of these moments by using them to train the player. Here, they're learning to interact with plugs and sockets, a skill they'll need for puzzles later in the game.
Oh yeah, plugs and sockets.
There.
Hold on.
Alex's kiss. It's a small moment, but Alex's kiss on Eli's cheek was important. Eventually, we're going to ask the player to save Eli, and we want them to care about him. To build that emotional connection, we needed to show the warmth and affection between Alex and Eli. We didn't want to oversell it.
Even though Broke does not care and has left us to do this experiment alone.
It had to feel genuine, not performative. And we were able to iterate on the subtleties of this moment until it struck just the right note.
Awesome.
Monitors. We use monitors a lot for storytelling in Half-Life 2 in the episodes. So much
All right,
so
the episode,
that we even make fun of ourselves for it. The
I'm
problem
a big
is they're
fan
just
of
too damn
episode
useful. They're fantastic
but who
for
isn't?
expanding the world by showing events happening elsewhere. And they provide an easy way to have characters talk without needing to explain how they all got to the player's location. Anyone who's ever written any kind of story, especially one with an ensemble cast, understands the unique frustration of trying to create natural reasons for all of your characters to come together in the same place. In this case, we were really happy with how the monitor allowed Alex to teleport away and then quickly appear in Eli's lab, making everything feel real and connected.
Alright, time to hook this shit up. Boink. Get boinked, idiot. Still hasn't returned.
Gordon, go right ahead.
Hit it.
Very good. Final sequence.
Yeah, teleport away. Really nothing nightmarish will happen like what happened when I had Chaos Mod installed.
Okay.
And there she goes.
Well, did it work?
See for yourself.
Hey, Doc.
Thank goodness. My relief is almost palpable.
Fantastic work, Izzy.
Well, I can't take all
I
the
like that he
credit.
calls him Izzy.
Dr.
I think that's
Freeman
really
proved an
interesting.
able assistant.
Let's
Chaos
go
Mod is
ahead and
fun.
bring Gordon through now.
Oh yeah, I've got a really funny clip of Chaos Mod. It's super
Good job,
good.
Gordon. Throwing that switch and all.
From this
I can
particular
see your
scene.
MIT education
Either way, the
really
base game
pays
of
for
Half-Life
itself.
2 seems to look much better since the update.
Your
Right? That's what I was saying. Is that, like, graphically, this game looks phenomenal in, like, ways that I can't really put my finger on. Alright, let me in here. Like, it all looks so much better. Somehow. I don't know if they've upscaled pictures, because, like, these don't look very upscaled from the originals. Let's go.
If you'd be so kind.
Arnold.
Good luck out there, Gordon.
Yes, indeed. We're ready to project you, Gordon. Bon voyage, and
Project
best of
you.
luck in your future endeavors. Final sequence.
Do you feel failed as a scientist?
What
Sorry,
is
I'm
it?
projecting.
Freaking head humper. Lamar.
Oh, hell yeah, Lamar's back. Whoa! I was confused that Lamar ends up there. And then somehow gets back.
Seems to be some kind of
Oh, we're floating.
Something's drawing him away.
What's the meaning of this? Who are you? How did you get in here?
Whoa, we're back. Hello, commentary node number 1, 2, and 3. I love you all equally. And also you other guys in this season too. Sure.
Don't worry, Gordon.
There he is. Oh, we're losing it again.
Oh, hello.
I'm all but certain it was Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman. Ichthyosaur moment.
He didn't come through.
Then where is he?
Behind you.
Where could he be?
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Yo, what up?
Get out of here. Get down out of sight. I'll come find you.
They should make a mod where you play Half-Life 2 with this, like, slowdown and visual effect the whole time. I can't believe I just did that. Hold on. Are there commentary nodes back there? Okay. Just checking, just checking. Again, you don't want to miss any. It's important not to miss any. But we're getting to the point that I would actually consider, like, the, like, actual gameplay of the game. Like, we're steadily getting there. Still no commentary notes. I guess they felt bad about throwing 10 commentary nodes or more at me in that section. Hi, Barnold.
Hey, Gordon.
Where is that
Citadel's
side
on
door?
Full alert. I've never seen it lit up like that.
Like,
Get out of City
'cause
17 as fast as you can, Gordon. Take the old canal.
I don't know where that would
They'll
be
get
in
you to Eli's
Kleiner Lab.
It's a dangerous route, but there's a whole network of refugees, and they'll help you if they can. I'd come with you, but I gotta look after Dr. Kleiner.
Oh, of
and
course.
before I forget, I think you dropped this back in Black Mesa. Good luck out there, buddy.
Brink.
Gonna need it.
Crowbar time. Oh, you can hit him. Oh, no, you can't. I was hitting the wall behind it.
Phonium extraction. Another critical tool we built into FacePoser was the phonium editor. It
Phonium.
processed the voice
What do you mean,
actors'
phonium?
dialogue lines.
Sounds like a fake element on the periodic table.
To generate basic lip sync animations for our characters. For the hero characters, our animators use this as a starting point to create high-quality custom animations for each dialogue line.
Oh,
incorporating
phonemes.
Full facial animation. However, in
Phonemes.
a
Okay.
dynamic choreo scene,
No
the
phone.
animator didn't know
Yeah,
exactly
phonemes.
what the rest of the actor's body would be doing. This meant it required careful layering of choreo commands and timings in FacePoser, while still maintaining the actor's ability to dynamically respond to the player.
There's not much dynamic response Barney has to do in that scene, though. Just kind of keep looking down at you. But still, it's still interactivity.
At the time of Half-Life 2's release, most first-person shooters gave the player a gun or a melee weapon right off the bat, but we opted to start them empty-handed. Without a weapon, it was easier to train the player on the more novel ways they're able to interact with the world, and introduce them to our story. We wanted the player to transition from fugitive
We
to
really
the
aren't
aggressor,
far from the station we
and
started
arming
in,
them
huh?
at the right time created that moment naturally. By the time they finally get a weapon, they're done running away. They say sometimes the best way to win is to walk away, but we all know that's not true. The best way to win is to run towards something while shooting at it.
Oh, hell yeah. Now that's an answer to that I'm sympathetic to. Do what you had to say before we go further.
During gameplay, many sounds are playing at the same time, but some are naturally more important than others.
Now I can hit
and
things while I
we
listen to
set the
commentary
volumes
notes.
of the sounds relative to each other to ensure that the important ones stand out. In a movie, this sound mixing is done as a post-process, but in a game, it happens real time, responding to the player's actions, so we can't predict ahead of time which sounds will play simultaneously. To handle this, all the sounds are grouped into types and tagged with priorities. Then during gameplay, the audio system monitors all the active sounds and lowers the volume of sounds in a group if a higher priority sound is playing. And this mixing is adjustable. If the gunshots need to be loud in one scene, we can make them higher priority there. If a specific line of dialogue needs to be heard clearly, it can then force all the other sounds to drop in volume. And we do the same thing with music. It's a subtle but very critical system, and it just prevents the soundscape from becoming too cluttered.
Where's the next node? Next node!
Bullet audio. If there's one thing we're sure of, it's that a lot of bullets will fly past a player throughout the game. So we spent a bunch of time trying to perfect the audio treatment for it. Unfortunately, bullets in the game are essentially instantaneous, so we can't just attach a sound to them and rely on the movement for positioning. So after some experimentation, we landed on this solution. By figuring out the closest point on the bullet's trajectory to the player's ear, we calculate the exact time and position the bullet would conceptually pass them. We then play two different sounds at that point to fake a Doppler effect, one for the bullet's approach and one for its departure. And we delay the departure sound based on the calculated time the bullet passed by.
That's crazy!
Audio caching. Another problem we ran into was the sheer amount of audio in the game. With all the gameplay sounds, music, and dialogue, we had too much audio to be able to store it all in memory. Memory was at a premium in 2003. But as you can imagine, we need to be able to play sounds immediately, especially if they're gameplay related.
Of course.
So we built an audio cache, which stored only the first 125 milliseconds of every audio file and kept that in memory. That 125 millisecond time was our best guess for how long it would take us to be able to stream an audio file in from disk. Then, whenever a sound was played in-game, we'd play the start of it from our audio cache while simultaneously kicking off a load of the full audio file from disk. By the time our cache start ended, we'd have the file loaded and could continue playing the rest of the sound. There were some other minor features, like keeping recent sounds fully in memory
Are there no
so that
subtitles for this
high-traffic
one?
ones didn't need to be loaded constantly. In today's engines, all kinds of assets, beyond just sounds, typically use the same kind of strategy.
Might be bugged. But that's really cool too. How do they know when to start, like how far, I guess 25 milliseconds, but like when to start playing, like how do they make it not stutter?
Getting physics to feel right for the player meant that the sounds produced by physics had to sound right too. As humans, we're all used to how objects and materials sound during various interactions, even if it's not something we actively notice.
That's a map transition that's going to roll in the commentary.
While we knew
note.
we couldn't account for everything, we wanted to focus on the details that contributed most to making our physics sound realistic. We started with per-object sounds for collisions and impacts. This allowed an object like a wooden crate to have custom sounds when it collided with other objects or classes of objects. Next, we began dynamically modifying these sounds based on the characteristics of the physical event, such as the masses involved and the force of the collision. This worked great for collisions, but didn't hold up in other interactions like objects scraping against each other. In reality, a wooden crate makes a different sound when it scrapes against a wall versus when it's thrown against that same wall. Let me tell you, nobody has done more research on the nuances of a wooden crate's physical properties than us. To get what we wanted out of these interactions, we implemented per-material collision sounds, metal against wood,
Valve Research Crate Division.
These sounds were also dynamically modified based on details like material hardness or type of metal. Getting this system to sound right required countless small tweaks, which we could only identify once it was running. We also experimented with custom sounds for rolling objects, but ultimately cut the feature because we weren't happy with the results.
Oh, that could have been cool though. Oh my god, they were all ready for me, dude. I swear to you, there used to be a map load right here. Oh, maybe it's up around this corner.
Automating DSP. All the sounds the player hears are processed through our Digital Signal Processing System, or DSP. And this just refers to how audio is altered to reflect the environment the player is in. For example, the same sound will differ when heard in a parking garage,
whoa,
a small room,
outdoors. Yeah.
In Half-Life 1, we manually placed invisible nodes throughout the world to define these DSP settings for each space. For Half-Life 2, we knew that manual placement was just going to be way too time-consuming, especially since we wanted a larger game, and
that's far too much.
We still only had one audio person on the team. So we built a system that automatically determines the DSP settings around the player.
Paint cans over there? Not hitting me.
It does this by analyzing the space around the player, assessing the volume there within. It examines the materials that make up the environment, basically. And then the system matches that space to one of the 25 hand-authored basic DSP types. We adjust some parameters, and we create the fully detailed DSP that modifies the sounds the player hears.
Alright. I just don't like to wander too far from the node, because again, that'll happen, and that'll kill the node. Hey, third chapter. Root canal.
Stop! We didn't do anything!
Okay.
Metro
No
Cop
important
scene.
dialogue here.
This is another scene designed to make it clear that the Metro Cops are the bad guys, except this time the player has a weapon and can finally do something about it. That something comes out of the barrel of a gun. We knew we needed the player to feel righteous, and this moment was part of creating that. The Metro Cops are still human, unlike the rest of the Combine in the game, so we felt like we had to go the extra mile in making sure the player's actions felt like justice and not just wrath.
Hooah! You switch over to the gun now.
Staircase. There are situations
I've been taken.
throughout the game that stem from simple and quite straightforward design goals, and this staircase features two of them.
Combine is
The
just
first
that
was to
Metro
frame
Comp
the
is
Citadel
going for
as it
me.
awakened, showing the player they stirred up the hive. The second was to showcase our ragdoll system. While it's standard now, in 2004 it was still a novelty to see bodies tumble realistically, and stairs provided a perfect stage to make that happen.
Interesting.
City 17 awakens. The early train station section was designed to make the city feel indifferent toward the player, as if Gordon is just another nameless, faceless citizen, ripe for subjugation. But during the tenement raid and rooftop chase, the city identifies the player as an anomaly and starts to stir. Now, with the player as the aggressor, the city fully turns its attention on them. The Overwatch PA system, first heard during the raid, played a key role in delivering this message. If players listen closely, there's a lot of information about the city's awareness. Even when players didn't pay attention, though, the audio treatment still conveyed the emotional message we were aiming for.
If I can get over there. I turn on this other commentary node while I do.
Explosive barrels. Here, we introduce explosive barrels, a staple of first-person shooters, but with a new twist. The second pistol shot sets the barrel on fire, starting a timed detonation. A third shot will detonate the barrel immediately. This way, players could either delay the explosion or trigger it right
Look
away.
how chunky those boards are. That bottom board is.
Players
at
may
least.
want to feed an explosive barrel to a barnacle and then shoot it twice as a handy way to safely dispatch a cluster of them. The delayed explosion also made for more interesting chain reactions between multiple barrels. Exploding barrels were a fan favorite in the series, but also were internally favored by level designers who often felt like the game could never have enough of them.
Oh, the train stops eventually. I didn't know that. I thought it would just like speed through and then come back through again. Now, that makes sense, but
Scanners. Scanners presented a tricky game design challenge. While we liked how their dystopian presence helped convey the Combine occupation as an oppressive surveillance state, we didn't actually want them to shoot at the player. We found that aiming into the sky to hit a small mobile enemy with a constant height advantage was something we couldn't make fun. Since we loved their role in the story, we decided that in combat, scanners would serve primarily as eyes, alerting nearby enemies to the player's presence, a feature we reinforced with sound effects from the soldiers. Beyond that, they'd only be able to harass the player with bright lights and occasionally dive bomb after taking enough damage.
So I really don't need to focus on killing them all or anything. Lambda cache.
Technically, the first Lambda cache is at Kleiner's lab, but this is the first one the player finds on their own. We added Lambda caches to encourage exploration and to hint players where hidden resources could be found, with a fiction being that they were being placed by the Resistance as part of their underground rebellion. In Half-Life, The contents of supply crates were predetermined by the level designer.
I wonder what this building was for and why they were building it.
We
Like a
introduced
house?
adaptive
Or...
item crates
Doesn't
that
seem
give
very
the
much
player
like a
whatever
house.
they are low
It's like
on
an
at the
industrial
time,
building to me.
based on resource targets set by the level designer.
Alright, let's move on. Moving on.
Overwatch. During
Overwatch.
development, we generated the Overwatch voice using a free text-to-speech tool. But as we neared shipping, we realized we didn't actually have the rights to use it, so we held auditions with voice actors to find someone who could match the qualities we liked in the generated lines. It didn't take long before we found Ellen McLean, whose delivery was exactly what we were looking for. In her sessions, we played the generated lines for her to mimic, though in her own style. She was a bit sarcastic at first, given that she was being asked to replicate such a robotic delivery, but years later when she returned for her iconic role as GLaDOS in Portal, she'd found a way to creatively integrate that tone into her performance.
That's fun. I never considered the link between her playing the Overwatch voice here, and then her playing the
pistol design.
Her playing GLaDOS.
The standard
later.
pistol is the workhorse of the game, functioning not only as the first range weapon
you're in a bad place,
but also as a method to interact with physics and destructible objects at a safe distance for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I was about to say, is that not
to
going to
help
blow?
make it feel more responsive and fun to use, the pistol employs a refire mechanic that's unique to it in the game. The gun will fire as fast as the player can click their input button, meaning that they feel an instant response to their input, and the faster they can click, the faster they can shoot.
Really wicked. I love that so much. One of my favorite things. That's why the Half-Life 2 pistol is one of my favorite pistols in video games. It's like Kleiner's Lab is technically a cache in and of itself, right? Ah, wrong way. This goes the other way too, doesn't it? Nah, it just goes up. I always, like, somehow manage to lose myself in this area. I somehow manage to get myself super turned around for, like, no reason. Because this door over here isn't, like, this gap over here is not super visible. Go ahead. Slow him. Oh, shit. Aha, idiot. Nice going. Is there a commentary note down there? Did I miss one? I would hope not. Nah, it doesn't look like it. Doesn't seem like they want to put one in a spot that I can't reliably get to.
When designing early levels where there are fewer mechanics in the player's toolkit, we found that it's just as engaging to spotlight new technical features instead, as we did here with breakable glass.
Go ahead.
For the shattering effect, glass was divided into a grid of small
shattered
squares,
the glass
allowing
too.
us to track which were intact or broken, and to blow at larger sections once enough squares were no longer connected. Each square was rendered with a unique texture based on the status of its neighboring squares, creating the sharp, jagged edges between broken and intact glass. While breaking glass is now commonplace in games, it was something we hadn't seen much back when we were making Half-Life 2, and we're incredibly happy with the level of fidelity and dynamicism it brought to the game.
Yo! Cool. Nice information about breaking glass, I suppose. I'm glad to hear when developers are passionate about the little things in their games. I really am.
Helicopter peekaboo peekaboo. The Combine attack helicopter as central antagonist was something we wanted to develop throughout the entire chapter. The relentless chopper became a character in its own right. Here, if you listen and look overhead, you can hear its engine and see it flying along the train tracks and into the distance. This first glimpse is a small piece of foreshadowing, with its presence becoming more pronounced over time, until eventually you're squaring off against it.
Good thing you're fucking immortal during these.
Iterative passes. Some chapters of the game, such as the on-foot sections of the canals in Ravenholm, were developed in multiple passes by different cabals. We found that handing off maps in this way led to greater variety in the experience, and a higher density of interesting moments, as each cabal added their unique touches to the maps. In the on-foot portion of the canals, the first pass established the art direction and the player path, along with the broad strokes of the experience and some major beats. But the team-wide alpha playtest identified insufficient tension and a somewhat monotonous experience here. In our second pass, we returned to the map solely focused on creating that tension and greatly increased the density of moment-to-moment scenarios.
Right, it makes sense for the team to do a lot of their own playtesting, because you wouldn't want to waste the time and money on playtesters just to find out things that you could have found out on your own, like, this part's boring.
The most complex shader we made for the game was the water shader, which made full use of the newly available programmable graphics cards. When water was present, the scene was rendered 3 times. First, the underwater world for refraction, second, a reflected view, and third, the parts above the water. When rendering the water surface, we blended the refractive and reflective views, showing more reflection at glancing angles using the Fresnel equation. We also tracked the ground depth below the water's surface, making it more transparent and less refractive in shallow areas. Additionally, we had to create 2 alternate water rendering techniques for lower-end graphics cards. Mid-range cards displayed a lower detail reflection without refraction or transparency, while low-end cards only rendered a partially transparent surface.
Interstitial scenes. As playtesting progressed, we often found areas where players lost track of their goal, which isn't uncommon in a game like Half-Life. To address this, we added smaller interstitial scenes to help guide players along their path and reinforce their objective. After finishing the bulk of development on our larger choreo scenes, like Kleiner's lab, putting these smaller scenes together became relatively straightforward.
Yo, Ali Goes Live, thank you for the raid, much appreciated.
Worked much better.
How you doing? How was your stream? How did it go? I hope it went well. We're doing some Half-Life 2 because it's Half-Life 2's 20th anniversary this weekend. As of tomorrow, I think is the exact date. And they put out a big update. Hey, Adrian, welcome in. They put out a big update. Long time no see, by the way. That had like developer commentary and some like visual improvements and a lot of bug fixes and new content. Cat game sad and poopy at the end. What do you mean? Which cat game? Is it the one? There are a lot of cat games out this year, man. After Stray last year, like a lot of cat games came out. I played a demo for one. That was about like this old woman who was like dying of like I think like some sort of respiratory disease. And you got to be her cat, and that was kind of fun. That was real sad though. Speaking of sad cat games, oh, that's the one. Hell yeah! Is the final product any good? I played the demo when it was a Next Fest demo. I actually played it on stream. It was pretty good. But how's the full game? Copycat, that's what it's called. Thank you. I'm more partial to Crypt Custodian when it comes to cat games that were in that demo session. I was playing this like 3 hours ago and absolutely geeking over it. Like this? Like Half-Life 2, or are we talking about Copycat? Either way, they're both worth geeking over.
Or even some sort of reminder you'd find baked into a pause menu.
Oh shit, powering me up.
Be careful now.
He loves Half-Life. I am also a big Half-Life fan.
Civil Protection catches you down here. It's bad.
Boxcar Bill. This small scene
Boxcar Bill
featured 2 human characters, but later in development, we replaced one with a Vortigaunt. We wanted to show that Vortigaunts were coexisting with humans and resisting the Combine as well.
Started out great. Complex issues, but then threw all that away and went, everything's fine too. Everything's fine though, and life is good. Oh man, I hate when plots do that. I get that they gotta resolve it somehow. They can't just let the old lady die, I guess. Or maybe they could. I don't know.
We also introduced their ability to heal the player, although we didn't fully capitalize on that feature throughout the game.
Not really, no.
Vortigaunts became a useful narrative tool for keeping dialogue brief, as their hive mind justified their full knowledge of the world and the player's goals. This meant they never had to ask questions, neatly sidestepping the challenge of writing dialogue for a silent protagonist.
Ah, not quite. Alright, let's get going. That was an interesting little tidbit. Not gonna lie, I wish she did, considering what she did. What did she do? What did that old woman do to you? Now, I'm thinking about Chaos Mod for this game now, and the fucking whack-ass moments we had during that. Going the right way, yeah? Oh, well, I'm missing a dev commentary note.
Particles. For the source engine, we invested in expanding particle and special effects
technology. Updated fire effect.
This allowed for more realistic and complex particle movement, as well as more intricate shapes and shader effects. In particular,
anyway, enjoy Half-Life 2. I will be playing this in my free time eventually. Hell yeah.
Look of them. While later iterations of the source engine include a powerful particle system editor, The original version used in Half-Life 2 relied on handcrafted effects.
I dragged the TV till we got to the boat.
Yeah, to meticulously build the effect manually, which was a pretty labor-intensive process.
Did you get the go fuck yourself G-Man mod? No. The plan is to give it like a week and let a bunch of workshop stuff build up, and then I'm gonna come through and stream this again where I'm just checking out like shit that got added to the workshop. I was waiting for a window to throw it at. That's absolutely fair. Ew. Alright, let's get going. God, that fire effect looks so nice. Oh, man, I'm glad they updated that for episode 2.
Barnacle Introduction. Because barnacles can be confusing when first encountered, we wanted to introduce them in a way that showed players their behavior at a safe distance. Good. We decided to do that through a nature show-style predator-prey scene. But, as always, scenes like this took a lot of iteration to get players to reliably see.
Oh, that's it? You're not going to talk about how you got players to reliably see that? I guess we know how, because they, like, corner you to show it to you.
Properties.
Ugh,
we
gross.
play custom footstep sounds when the player walks on the slippery mud. This was a system called Surface Properties. They used the material type to determine the sounds and other...
Rat's Wisdom. Always listen to developer commentaries and directors' commentaries if you really like a piece of media. That's my wisdom. Not because you'll enjoy it, but because you'll learn something about it, and it can, like, you should always be looking for new nuggets and tidbits of wisdom that that you can use going forward in your own projects. Like there are like innumerable things that I've learned either through like Half-Life, like I learned things about like narrative storytelling via these that like are good little nuggets, or like, you know, you learn about like the processes of making the things that you love and finding out ways to include those in your own processes. But if that's too serious of a wisdom for you, may I suggest go to sleep with an itchy asshole, wake up with a shitty finger. Do you think Synergy will get a workshop too? So Chaos Mod multiplayer. I hope Synergy gets workshop support. I don't see why it wouldn't just yet, but you'd have to like, I'd have to hear something from the developers of Synergy about it, because that'd be fun to do a co-op stream of this. Get like a few people together, maybe like just two, but still.
Occur when walked on or shot at. Earlier in development, we had an effect that slowed players' movement when walking on mud surfaces. However, this was removed in the shipping version as it was decided it was too punishing.
Too punishing. No more schluppy mud.
Hey, over here! Mounted gun gallery. There are a few things going on in this scene. The turret firing at the breakable crates behind teaches players not to take the threat head-on, and instead utilize the sewer
not take the threat head-on. You're right.
And when they reach the turret, players enjoy using it in a shooting gallery.
You make a good point, developer commentary.
Soldiers and dive-bombing scanners.
Welcome back, Jed.
We also begin to introduce the missile-firing Combine APC that pushes the players along, and will show up again later in the chapter.
This is Station 8. We heard 12 go down and out.
Let me check those sewer tunnels and make sure there's not a node I'm missing. No, doesn't look like it. Okay, good. Awesome.
Station 8, do you copy? Station 8, are you there?
Death!
We have confirmed reports of manhacks. Repeat, they're filling the underground with manhacks.
Oh, hell yeah. Is there a node up here? These nodes are getting farther and fewer between now that we're actually making like good headway into like a gameplay area. Death! I think I dealt with most of them while I was over here. Let's make a run for it. Damage be damned, we're making a run for it. Whee! Okay. Keeping my eyes peeled. Oh, not peeled enough! Jesus. I should have brought out my crowbar for that. I panicked. Dear God. Oh, come on now. Didn't have anything to feed him. Give my eyes peeled for dev commentary notes. Okay, nothing here.
Keep going, friend. That station was raided, but there's others up ahead. I'm gonna stay here in case any others come through.
Yeah, you got it.
Railway alive.
Gotta keep the snail way alive. Meow. I blame SpongeBob for the fact that I just meowed about snails. Oh, I'm sinking. I'm sinking. Really? Nothing to say about this game? Nothing to say about it? How very odd. Okay, my need to not explode outweighs my need to not drown. I would rather potentially drown than potentially explode.
Running around a corner into a new area just to see enemies standing there is always awkward, and it makes the world feel less alive and more like a shooting gallery. So we were motivated to introduce enemies into combat spaces in more interesting and dynamic ways that would communicate planning and intentionality on their part.
Oh,
As
hell
if
yeah.
these soldiers had
I love
a plan for
communicating
Gordon
planning.
even before he showed up. The Metro cops in this scene jump down into this space via scripted sequences.
Oh man, I was hoping he would go that way.
Repelling in a similar way. It doesn't matter where they're coming from in reality because players end up telling that story to themselves. We found that in the end, combat should have a story implied in its setup. An ambush, a surprise, a surge, an assault. All of these
Just double
scenarios
check
use
here.
much of the same enemy AI, but all felt different to playtesters.
Yeah, nah, nothing. I was making sure I didn't miss another node. I wanna hear as much of this as possible. Okay, let's see it, let's see it. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Man, I'm alright. Yeah. There's more than one Overwatch voice going on right now. Whoa! Okay.
Barnacle bowling. This is a satisfying example of how a bunch of design elements can come together in a matrix of interactions to create a memorable scenario for the player. We got barnacles, our physics simulations, slippery mud surface properties, and last but not least, explosive barrels. You've encountered all of these on their own, but they're able to snap together naturally to create a moment we called barnacle bowling.
Love that. They iterated again more on that in the documentary about how they had like a chart of like every weapon on like the x-axis of the spreadsheet, and then every enemy on the y-axis of the spreadsheet. And so they came together to ouch, ouch, ouch. I'm stuck. There we go. No longer stuck. I'm free. Free as a bird. But like they had like a chart, and they would just like go like, okay, barnacles plus grenades. Okay, we've got a thing for that. What about barnacles plus bullets? You know? What do we have there? Okay, we got a thing for that. And like anywhere there would be like an open cell in that, they would work to fill that in. And I think that's a super interesting interesting dynamic. Okay, yeah, there's no getting up that. I always manage to get lost in these sections. Oh god. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Let's run away. No need to kill all of those Combine. No need at all. Boink. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, there we go.
Physics in puzzles.
Physics in puzzles.
Simpler mechanics encountered earlier in the game are pulled from more complex ones as a form of training. The teeter-totter puzzle, the first physics-based contraption in the game, was actually derived from a later, more intricate washing machine puzzle in the canals.
Yup.
The teeter-totter uses the same principles of mass and ramps, but in a more straightforward way that players can directly interact with, helping them understand the game's physics and making later
stack
puzzles
them all on
easier
there. I know
to
you don't
tackle.
have to, but let's stack them all
This
on
puzzle also highlights the analog nature of the physics system, with the placement of cement blocks and the player's own weight both factoring into the solution.
Whoop. Helicopter, helicopter.
Combine attack helicopter.
Whoa.
Players have had
Falling
glimpses
down again.
before, but here's where we fully introduce the main boss of the Canals chapter, the Combine attack helicopter. This chopper relentlessly destroys a player's cover, forcing them to move forward or risk being gunned down. We wanted this sequence to feel tense and menacing, with the helicopter seeming far too
I'm just
powerful
double
to
checking
confront
everywhere while I'm
directly, and maintaining that
invulnerable.
intensity through the canals until the final showdown in the reservoir. To achieve this, we heavily constrained the
I don't remember where to go. I'll level with you.
Specific gameplay goals.
I'll admit it.
In this map, designed as a dash from cover to cover under helicopter fire, we created a ring path in the sky above the arena. The helicopter always travels to the farthest point on that ring from the player, keeping it visible and making it easier for us to place cover in just the right spots.
I found the right way. I found it. Pop out chat, silence Jed for once, not me. What did Jed say? What if we missed Jed saying?
Half-Life 2 was developed during an exciting time for graphics, as the first programmable shader-supported graphics cards were hitting the market. Using this technology, we became one of the first games to implement normal maps, a technique that enhanced the lighting on surface geometry. The normal map described the surface's roughness, allowing each pixel of a polygon to be lit in a way that made surfaces appear bumpier and more detailed than ever possible in Half-Life 1.
Okay. Moving on. Why didn't this get a texture? Weird. Maybe that's done as like a decal or like a brush, and that's why? Perchance. Mayhap. Push it in. I'm stupid. Oh, I'm double stupid. I'm triple stupid? Surely not, right? I'm indeed triple stupid.
Autosave dangerous. In Half-Life 1, we had a set of autosaves throughout the game, hand-placed by level designers and triggered when the player reached some specific moment or position in the game. This ensured that the game was automatically saved for you as you traversed through Black Mesa's corridors. In Half-Life 2, we found ourselves needing a new tool. The problem arose in some of the more complex arenas we'd built. Some of those encounters would last for quite a while and features multiple sets of enemies. Others were long, sprawling mixes of exploration and combat without any clear separation between the two. We never want an autosave where the player is in danger of dying right after loading the game, because that could place the player in a death loop. If you played enough games back then, you definitely found yourself in this situation at least once. So unless we deliberately crafted pauses in every arena's flow, there wasn't always a safe place to put an autosave. After some experimentation, we implemented a feature called Autosave Dangerous. This was a level designer tool that combined an autosave with an associated time frame. When triggered by the level designer, it immediately saved the game, but kept the save off to the side, not available as a save game to load from. If the player then stayed alive for the specified time frame, then the save would be committed and used as the most recent autosave. This allowed level designers to put an autosave at a reasonable place or time in an arena, specify a time like 30 seconds, and if the player was still alive for 30 seconds, the autosave would be used.
That's crazy. That's like a crazy amount of work to prevent soft locking. Damn it, I should have saved that. Oh well, we got tires. Can I go right up the middle? No. I shouldn't be so lucky. Okay, Jesus. Aha! Let me make sure I'm not missing a commentary node. No, okay. Put up in here the whole time. Well, I was just doing the face thing as a way to say, or as a way to say I see you about the co-op thing. Nice. Yeah, Jed, I'll make you a deal. Jed. If you play through the entirety of Half-Life 2 and its episodes, like solo, I'll play the thing with you. Like I'll do the co-op with you.
Soundscapes. In
Soundscapes.
Half-Life 1, ambient sounds were placed by hand and then individually tuned. For Half-Life 2, we wanted more ambient sounds in our environment with higher quality and less manual effort for placement.
That seems like
we built
about to load a
map
system
that we called Soundscape system. A soundscape is basically a small program that controls which ambient sounds play, where they come from, and then how they behave in a specific environment. So flies buzzing, wind blowing, birds, a distant train, distant combat. The soundscape system could then randomly select and play these sounds, and also, really importantly, handle the smooth transition as the player moves through environments. Soundscapes can also contain other soundscapes, and that allows us to create reusable collections of sounds. So, for instance, distant combat might be small arms fire, distant explosions, a passing helicopter. And these soundscapes would dynamically assemble and play from many individual sounds, and that helps us avoid the artificial feel of a single looping track. Overall, the soundscape system
Is there a
was
gap
real
in the
workhorse
subtitle
for
there? I
audio
was
in
expecting
Half-Life
something
2,
to play.
and pretty much responsible for every sound you hear that isn't directly
Don't have a
driven
corpse
by
in the bottom
gameplay.
right of the frame. Alright, let's go. Let's see if I was right about this being a map load. Yeah. Yeah, I would've killed that commentary note on sight. You know what? No. I'll just scooch it. I'll just scooch it for now. We might need those in a moment. Aha! Had a feeling I might want one of these. Boom. Great.
Civil protection
Heyo.
sponsors.
Manhack Map.
Manhack Matt.
Manhack Map. We wanted to give players the sense that hundreds of citizens inhabited the hidden nooks and crannies of City 17. At this point in the game, it had been a while since players had seen a citizen, and we wanted to explain the significance of the manhacks, which was the first physics-based enemy that we created. In the original concept, there was a video arcade in the city where players could fly manhacks around to attack virtual citizens. Eventually, players would discover that the manhacks are real, and so were the citizens. As the Combine occupation became more fleshed out, this idea of a video arcade became an odd fit and eventually fell by the wayside.
Alright. Let's go. Goodbye, Manhack Matt.
Thanks for your help.
I wouldn't just leave you to die, buddy.
It isn't safe here. I'll give you some supplies to keep you going, then you really gotta go.
Nah, I'm out. Don't worry, I don't need him. Hey, Manhack Matt, if I don't take these guys down, you're gonna die. I will, in fact, be leaving you to die if I happen to manage to get past them. Oh, fuck. They already got one. Ah, I couldn't figure out doorways, dumbass. Nice going. No commentary node, eh? Ah, secret area, though. A little bit of extra ammo, a little bit of health. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Oh, listen to that soundscape. We were just talking about those. And how great they are. Sit down. Yeah, new weapon. No commentary track for the new weapon? Maybe it's up ahead. Maybe I've just missed it. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Air pocket? You got a commentary node for me? Nope. Dang, we actually have to play the video game now? What a shame. I'm sure it won't last long, though. And that's the actual way to go. That's not I want to go check on that Lambda cache to make sure there's... Oh, there's not a Lambda cache over here. There's nothing. You get nothing. Oh my god, the amount of particles. Sweet merciful Christ. That's right, leave me alone, pal. I can't see. I can't see. I'm out of here. Bye, guys. That's my first death, dude. It's such bullshit, too. Many such cases, dude. Many such cases. Come on. Damn it. I've never seen it, like, seamlessly switch, Yeah! Ooh, careful. Don't want to get hurt. I've been too focused on commentary nodes. I'm sucking at the video game. Damn the cash. Wee woo. Bam. Bam the cash. Let's see. Where to go? I know up and over, but how am I meant to get up and over? Oh, probably from the Lambda cache, huh? No. This is just like its own little area. Alright, let me back over here. Oh, I was on the pipe, which means I gotta go this way. Whee! Okay, well, fine. I'll wait, then. Dude, I cannot see for shit without the flashlight down there. Let me wait up on my flashlight real quick before we go jumping down there. Sploosh, sploosh. Let's see. Woo. Alright. We should be coming up on a chapter break pretty soon. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea to jump backward into the water. That was a real bad idea. No. You fellas haven't seen a commentary node, have you? Nah, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Leave me alone! I'm surrounded. Let's bottleneck him. Oh my god. Wah! Still following? He is, yeah. Done. You'd think I don't even have developer commentary on with how it's presenting itself to me right now. Or rather, the lack of it presenting itself to me. Not the intended route. No, it is. It is. It has to be. Ah, vent. Didn't see it. I was about to say, I know it's here. I saw him.
Explosive Barrel Factory. This room, filled with an absurd number of exploding barrels, inspired some good-natured debate within the team around how far to push the plausibility of our world. Frankly, one exploding barrel is probably too many in regards to realism. In the real world, barrels really shouldn't explode, even if you were.
Should be about done with it. That means I love that commentary note because it gives me such like a clear vision of somebody on the team just like putting their fucking foot down at no, not exploding barrel room. We can't do exploding barrel room. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. Not the exploding barrel room. Hold on a second. Got a Discord message. Let me check. Ah, later plans have been canceled. Alright. That's what we'll do then. We'll finish out the half hour of this. And then we'll, And then I think once we get to the next chapter marker, that's where I'll call it for the evening. There's so much developer commentary. If I were just playing Half-Life 2, I would have been here in like an hour or two ago. Like, this shouldn't take 2.5 hours to get to, but like when you factor in like the amount of dev commentary we're listening to and stuff, it's just like, dude, it's impossible not to, you know? It's impossible not to if you want to hear it all anyway. I always get confused in this room. And I don't know why, because I always come down here and the water level's not high enough. So you need to raise the water level to get over there. But how do you go about that, you know? Damn it. There's no way they'd just leave me soft locked here for fucking it up. A padlock on here that I can break? No amount of interaction's gonna fix that. Let's try the pipes again. Try climbing the pipes. Again, I don't know, I've played this game a million times, but like the little idiosyncrasies of it just like slip from my brain at a certain point. So I lose my mind a bit. Okay, let's get on here. And boop. Okay, maybe there'll be more commentary notes now that we're in a more quiet, sort of puzzle-solvey area. There should be a thing on the pipe somewhere. Ah, right there. Valve. Hazardous environments and whatnot. Okay. And then down. And fuck you, manhack. Around. Should be fairly well impeded by water, I think. Right.
Rising water. The floating bridge and wooden spools here introduce the concept of buoyancy as a tool for the player. In this case, it's not really a puzzle. It's just some fun for the player interacting with the physics system. But later, we revisit this gameplay element in the canals to raise a ramp for the airboat.
We do, yeah. That's true. I probably only need the one, huh? I usually get them both out of there. I usually just take my time and get them both out of there, but I figure I should only really need one. Realistically, I don't see why I would need more than one. Ah, tipped it over. Okay. Come on. Don't do this to me. You can't do this to me. Okay. Oh, it's stuck. Yeah, I got it stuck. I broke it, and that's what allowed me to succeed. I did it my way. Oh, map reload. Let's see it. Hey, more commentary nodes.
Rendering systems. In the early 2000s, we couldn't afford a general-purpose renderer with the broad capabilities of a modern engine. Instead, CPU, GPU, and memory limitations required highly specific solutions to rendering challenges so we could squeeze every bit of performance out of a player's hardware. As a result, Half-Life 2 actually has three different rendering engines.
Three?
One for geometry, another for outdoor terrain, and a third for dynamic entities like characters and objects. These three renderers had to support a complicated matrix of features: collisions, ray traces, decals, offline lighting, visibility calculations, and more. On top of that, each renderer needed to support DirectX 7, 8, and 9. The differences among these DirectX versions were significant, often requiring different data storage and rendering approaches. They even used different programming languages. Altogether, we essentially had 9 different renderers, each needing unique solutions, and getting them all to look consistent was one of the most challenging tech problems we faced during development.
Dealt with it pretty effectively, yeah. Didn't even see the string or the tongue on that barnacle. Alright, let's come up here. Aha! Another cache! It's something sweet for me. Very obvious, a lot of these caches. Very obvious. I don't mind, though. Can't quite say that I mind. Aha! More things. I love it when I can add more things.
GPU Wild West. During development, we faced numerous decisions influenced by our choice of minimum spec, the least powerful CPU and GPU combination that would still deliver a good experience for customers. In the early 2000s, there was far more variety among GPUs than today, with wide differences not only in speed, but in fundamental approaches to rendering. But at the time, we had no real data on the hardware our customers were using. What CPUs and GPUs did they have? How much RAM? Which version of Windows? We reached out to Microsoft hoping they might know answers to questions like, how many DX7 cards are in use? Or DX8? Unfortunately, they didn't have the data either. Realizing we were at risk of making bad decisions without these insights, we developed an analysis tool that allowed players to report their hardware specs to us and integrated it into the early version of Steam. The data was so useful that we decided to make it public, launching the Steam Hardware Survey in April 2003.
Love
it's been
the
helping
Steam
us
Hardware
and
Survey.
hopefully other developers make informed decisions ever since.
Love taking the Steam Developer Hardware Survey.
Dynamic shadows. With a focus on character and physics objects, we felt a dynamic shadow system was necessary to render them all in all their glory. In 2003, GPUs didn't have any dedicated shadow capabilities that they have today, so performance was a tricky problem. Our eventual solution went something like this, running every frame. First, find all the objects that might have shadows in view. Doing this meant figuring out which objects were in the view frustum or slightly behind it to catch entities that were off-screen but whose shadows might end up on-screen. Then we'd render a black shadow version of each one of those objects into a single shadow texture. For that render, we'd use the lowest level of detail model for the object to be as fast as possible. Finally, we'd use the shadow texture to draw each of the shadows into the player's view, darkening the already rendered pixels. We carefully cut around each shadow in that shadow texture to ensure that they correctly overlaid each other in the case where multiple shadows overlap. It's neat to look back on how we did these things, but ultimately we're a lot happier today, where GPU hardware makes it a much more straightforward problem.
We're a lot happier today for reasons unrelated.
Used headcrab canisters are seen later in Ravenholm, so we decided to show them here to tell the story of how they're used by the Combine. The story is that the Combine have weaponized Zen fauna to use them against the humans. Burrowed headcrabs was added as a new feature for this section that was expanded into a larger area that is meant to show a citizen shanty that was decimated by the headcrab assault.
Damn. Shitty little shanty town. Calling it a shanty really puts it into context. I had never considered this being a place that people live. Because it's so, like, squalorly, you know? And it's just, I don't know, it's hard for me to envision. Real sad shit, though. Whoa, buddy! No thanks. I could have swore this had more fire. Okay, let's navigate here. Run. Ouch, 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 ouch. Owie, 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 owie. The whole thing is electrified in there. Right, right. Connected to a downed power line here. That's still running electricity for some reason. So how do I fix that? Let's find out. Let's use those puzzle-solving skills and see if we can figure out what the game wants of us within a reasonable amount of time. Let's see. I don't know, I'm having a lot of fun with the developer commentary. I really, really am. It's very insightful. Sometimes they get a little too nitty-gritty for me. Sometimes they get a little too into the weeds of exactly how rendering systems and whatnot work. But generally, it's all very insightful, and it's all very unique, cool information to learn. Not bad at all. Right. Okay. We need to backtrack a bit here. Owie.
Hazardous radiation levels detected by
radiation. Vital signs are actively dropping, dude. Do something about it. Figure it out. Yeah, that led me in a circle here. Circle where I didn't see much of anything. Okay, where are you? There you are. You shell out of a chair? Burrowing out of a fucking chair, dude? Yeah, nothing in there. Oh, way back here at the start of the area. No solution here. Oh, right, I'm supposed to get up on top. That's what you gotta do. I'm supposed to find the correct spot. One would hope, anyway. And then climb up on top of the thing. Can I climb up here? Is this an option? It seemed like an option for a second. No. So now that I'm trying it again, it's less viable. I love it when the things that I attempt get significantly less viable as I attempt them. Oh, there's a way up right here via this crate. This great crate. Let me up. Can't jump here. Is there a ceiling in my way? There's a ceiling here. I can't believe that. There's a ceiling here. And invisible walls and shit. Owie. Maybe up and away is not the answer here. Okay, there we are. Damn it. But no, yeah, about Lamar, speaking of head crabs. He kind of gets... Like, she kind of gets teleported away with me? I don't know Lamar's pronouns. But she kind of gets teleported away with me when the teleportation scene happens. But then you go back to Kleiner's lab later, and she's there with him. And so it's just like, what happened here, you know? How did you get your crab back, dog? In a field way out of town. I'm not sure I understand. I doth not understand. Speaking of not understanding, I'm very much not understanding, or not remembering, at the very least, what I'm supposed to be doing here. Like, okay, I know for a fact I'm supposed to turn the electricity off, but there's not a big electricity off switch anyway. What happens if I just do this? Hi, guys. Turns out just running for it was, in fact, an option. Could have just done that the whole time. I think that's what I usually do instead of solving the puzzle there, and that's why I forget. It's just because you can run it.
Hey,
commentary
Dr.
notes.
Freeman. I've been hoping you'd show up. Got this airboat all gassed up and ready to go.
Oh, man.
It's gonna be tough dodging civil protection out there in the open, but drive hard and you'll make it.
Airboat
You'll find
time.
more help up at Station 7. Just a few bends up the river. It's the old red barn. Climb on in. Fire her up.
The old red barn that will be completely empty by the time we get there. For one reason or another. Alright, let's listen to commentary notes.
Intro. This is where the player gets the first vehicle of the game, the airboat.
Yippee!
We wanted to create a safe space for players to practice driving the airboat for as long as they wanted before moving on. The arena is sprinkled with opportunities for jumps and tricks, and we filled the arena with toxic slime to keep players in the airboat longer, while preventing them from leaving the vehicle behind and progressing forward on foot.
Love sludge.
Combinatorial shader explosion. Rendering became much more complex during Half-Life 2's development with the addition of hardware shaders, small bits of code controlling how each pixel on a surface should render. In 2003, shaders were far more limited than today. Half-Life 2 era shaders lacked conditionals and had severe code size restrictions. This meant no if-else branching logic to adjust based on different conditions, and no large shaders with broad feature sets. Also, compiling shaders as needed was just too slow to be useful, so we had to pre-compile them. To work within these limits, we had to compute every possible shader combination and store
There was
each
no
one
getting around
individually
it.
as its own shader. For example, if a shader affected a surface based on a single light source, we'd need another shader version for 2 lights, another for 3, and so on. And it was combinatorial. If that shader also supported a normal map, we'd need 2 versions per light,
What a
one with
word.
a normal map and one without. With features like texture blending, vertex tinting, specular highlights, alpha testing, and various other light types, directional point and spotlights, our shader count exploded.
Oh shit,
By
bars?
release, we had thousands of individual shaders. Shortly after, we released Lost Coast, adding HDR support, which doubled the shader count again. Once compiling
look at
shaders
that
on
shadow.
the local
That's not
developers'
quite
machine
right.
started taking too long, we switched to distributing the shader compiles over the entire network using VMPI. We also had a dynamic shader compilation mode that was useful for developing shaders that gave fast turnaround at the expense of frame rate hitching when a shader had to be compiled.
Alrighty, I think that's where I'm going to have to call it for today. Unfortunately, I'm taking a screenie real quick for the YouTube thumbnail. Oh my god, don't be so aggressive. But I think that's where we're going to have to call it for the day. I think that is a good spot to go. All right, that's the best stopping point we're gonna get. And next time, if we do another one of these, if people are interested in another one of these, or I feel like doing one, we'll do the airboat section through to Eli's lab. And, hello. Oh, you caught us right at the end here. You caught us dead at the end. But next time we'll do airboat, we'll do Eli's lab, and hopefully, well, Black Mesa East. And then we'll, hopefully be able to round out by, like, somewhere around Nova Prospect. Yeah, sorry, I was watching Arcane Season 2. Absolutely no trouble. Absolutely no problem. Hope you had a great time watching Arcane. It's been great having you here when you have been. You know, it's been a pretty solid time. Let's bring the music back in and move over to a just chatting screen while I find someone to raid into. Let's see if any of our friends are live. See if we can return the favor, or pay the favor forward at least. Vintage Applesauce is live. But that's it seems. See. Frizzy is live. Lots of people are live. Wow. So much stuff happening on the weekend. Half-Life 2 updates, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah, no, there's a lot going on. I guess we'll raid Vintage Applesauce because they're someone that I follow on Twitch and someone who is a friend to the channel. They're playing some Minecraft right now. No. Oh, I'm reading their chat. I was like, who is this in their chat? In my chat, just going like, no, as their first message here. But no, it's somebody completely different in their chat. I'm gonna run raid/raid. Make sure you stick around for that. Exclamation point socials. We get links to all of my social medias, including my VODs channel, which has all my VODs, including a playthrough of Half-Life 2. All of it's in a playlist. Every Half-Life game, in fact, not just Half-Life 2. But you can watch either just my Half-Life 2 or all my Half-Life stuff. So if you want more Half-Life or just more of me, that's the place to go for it. I, as of like yesterday, don't have a stream schedule anymore. So I'm just kind of streaming whenever. So make sure you hit that follow button or join our exclamation point Discord to get updates on when I'm live and what I'm doing. And I'll see you guys when I see you, probably on Monday, for some more Willow SMP. Catch you around.